Just say your opinion about something not on the regs. I'll sit you down.
Well, I know that.
And Laura, you too.
Yeah, that loops back around and we won't have enough time.
I submitted 2 of the forms. And one of the forms after that. So I thought I'd do the 2 forms under my schedule. And the one for lunch.
Please, thank you.
Yeah, if they loop back around and have enough time tonight,
Okay.
then they'll get it.
How are they selected?
Based on how you sign it.
Oh, okay.
So when we first speak,
I'm signing in again.
so if you have more to say,
Okay.
then
All right.
John wants to speak.
Okay. Thank you.
Everybody's signing in this week. So we know who's
I told you what you did. I thought I'd take it for you. I'll set it for you. Sorry about that.
See your name?
Ah, there you go. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the pit kind of faded on the first couple there. My bad.
Am I supposed to sign just
If you want to speak.
Oh,
You only have to speak.
only the speaker.
Yeah, feedback form. You'll sign it.
Signatures are worse than that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Feedback form or just sign it?
Last sign and
You're doing this. There's
this.
Just write your name, whoever you want to speak, and then your address, proponent, opponent. Yes, you want to speak. Oh, what's this? Let's find Chris. There's a switch behind you. We can push up. Or you want to speak? No, that's guidelines. The guidelines to be able to speak when you want to speak. If you want to speak. If you want to speak, you have to sign in.
No.
No.
There. No.
Line up over there. What's that other switch go to? I know. Hello. Do you want to speak? Okay, you only need to sign in if you want to speak. There's a copy of guidelines if you want to read that.
You have a sign-in sheet.
Yeah. Did you fill out a solar feedback form? Okay. Then you'll sign in right here.
We've got extra folks.
Just put maybe if you want to speak. But I mean, they'll call your name. If you don't want to speak at that time, you don't have to.
It's gonna be a long.
Okay. What was your first name? Okay. Got it. Yeah. Did you fill out a form? Okay. Sign in there. Bring your name. Did you fill out a form? No. Okay. Yeah. You want to speak? That's what they said. You want to speak? No, there's space. Even with an open area. You want a copy of the guidelines?
Oh, we've got it. Thank you.
Hello. How are
I
you?
didn't fill out.
You can still, yeah, you can still see that. You just have to sign in here, and then there's guidelines. You just, you don't have to speak. They'll just call your name, and you can say you're not, you don't need to speak. Maybe someone else is there, said you wanted to say. Crazy. I will. Fantastic. Either way, we get a break for a little while. They have like the stuff for the election stuff will be in here, so we can this room locked out for 4 weeks, so we can't have anything. Get a little break. You'll have to turn it on. Or you can set that's on. Yeah, that's turn it on. Did you guys want to speak?
Not me. Are you speaking?
Are you for or against? Hey there. And there's a copy of the guidelines. Did you see ya?
Yeah. I did. Right there. ID or anything, or just a signature?
Hi there.
All right.
Sir,
I may opt out.
did you want to speak? Okay. You need a copy of the guidelines?
Oh, for the meeting? No, I'm good on that. I'm good.
That's all right.
That's how he's going.
Did you submit a form?
No, it didn't.
Okay. Want to sign in here? No, sorry, that's my pen. Not giving my pen. And then you'll, there's a copy of the regulations here.
I have it with me.
Okay.
Wouldn't come unarmed. There you go, guys. I'll make sure I'm signing my name.
I don't know, they just walked on by, I assume they don't want to speak.
I hope you'll make an announcement for the people that didn't know or forgot. Good luck with this fiasco. I miss you guys. I miss you guys.
Hello. Did you want to speak?
Not really, but sure.
So you'll sign in there.
You're gonna speak, is this what you sign on?
Yep. Thank you. You're gonna fill this form. You can, one of you can sign at the top right there since we're going to page 2 now. Whoever wants to go next.
Just our name?
Yeah, right, Frank, sorry. So they, yeah, Frank, you're, Frank.
Last name too?
Put on my address? Yep. Address? Are you for or against? So P is for and O is against. I'm against. Against what one? So O. Against what one? O. That would be an O. And then you want to speak and you say yes. Alright? Easy enough? Yeah, I'm good with it. O is for against. Yeah. P is for Hi. Did you want to speak? No. That's it. That's what this is for. If you want to speak, you have to sign it, but that's a copy of the guy.
Thank you.
filled in the solar feedback form.
I got a timer on.
Yeah, you want to speak? Did you fill out a solar feedback form? Okay, so then you'll sign in right here. And write your name.
I did, but I think it turned it in too late. I shouldn't be. All right.
There's probably the beginning where the guidelines
Pretty much well remember, but I'll take when it's the case.
Signed up?
speak up? Can you turn the mic up?
That's what I'm not certain of. This is, it's up.
Thank you.
Okay, first, I think most of you can probably see the screen. I'm going to read. The procedures tonight, just so that everyone has the information in case there is a problem issue with the written on the screen there. Obviously, this meeting is to listen to your feedback on the solar regulation draft. The Planning Commission may not comment. We'll take all comments, comment ourselves, but we'll take all comments into consideration. To help facilitate an orderly and efficient meeting, public comments will be subject to the following guidelines. First of all, people who submitted solar feedback forms prior to September 16th and 23rd will be called on alphabetically to speak if the person chooses. Those forms are all the way from the beginning of our public feedback period earlier this spring, so it's not just the recent. We can all go back, all the way back to our records. Look at this list of the first people. We signed in at the public meeting. This is, I think, so hopefully everyone has done. Who have not submitted a solar feedback form will be called on to speak after the people who had previously submitted a form. Everyone will be called on in the order of in alphabetical order for the written forms and some in order from tonight's sign-ins. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. The speaker should not pose questions to the Planning Commission or attempt to argue with another speaker here in the room. Speakers shall not donate unused time to other speakers. Speakers should try not to repeat the statements of others in full or rely upon written statements if they have already been presented to ensure that all members of the community have time to speak. All comments must address the proposed solar regulations by specific section. If time permits, the Planning Commission may allow the speakers to look back after we've gone through the list of people who have already submitted forms and the list of people who have signed in tonight. If time permits, the Planning Commission may allow speakers to look back, starting from the beginning, in order to add additional feedback. However, the Planning Commission does reserve the right to maintain individual time limits and a total time limit on the public hearing portion of the meeting, which at the moment is scheduled for 6 p.m. tonight to 9 p.m. The Planning Commission does reserve the right to mute and will remove any speaker whose comments are in violation of the guidelines, are threatening, aggressive, disruptive, or hostile. I hope everyone understands the rules have been set for the public feedback for the very interested hearing. After all of that, a welcome to everyone, which I probably should have said at the beginning. Welcome to everyone. Thanks for your diligence in sticking with us as we go through this important mission for all of us in the county moving forward. So the first person on the list that we have is, and my apologies if I mispronounce any last name. The first person on the list is Roger Accurate. Mr. Accurate, if you come to the microphone, and if everyone would first announce their name, and then proceed with their comments.
Mic check, mic check, mic check. We're good in the back? No. What's wrong? What's wrong? Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Okay, my name's Roger Accurate. I don't find in either one of the documents, the draft 30 document or the addendum draft document, anything that covers existing solar installations. And so I think that needs to be covered unless it's known there are laws that cover this, that's fine, but it needs to be researched and identified. Section 1, definitions. I think tornado should be listed. Also, under glint and glare, you've got PV panels, and so you need to define in the definition solar panel, or whatever you're going to call it, but it's inconsistent throughout the document. It's called PV panels, it's called solar panels, and it's also just called panels. Also, this term solar panels is used to describe the entire structure. That is, the tower, the frame the panels are installed in, and the panels. So that needs to be identified. It's cumbersome and it's confusing, please. So, it's inconsistent terminology. Add other items in sub-item 4, such as businesses. The farmers on 3 sides of me have additional businesses, additional to their farming. So I think businesses ought to be protected too if we say these other items. Maybe they were meant to be top level, fine. If that covers it, fine. Section 2. Environmental, social, economic impacts and benefits. Again, do we need to add, like, for example, agricultural business, hunting, fishing, agritourism, tourism? I don't know. Down in that same item number, it says protecting adjoining landowners and property. Further in the document, take out that phrase adjoining and you use neighboring or something. Or neighbors. So be consistent. I think it should come out and say Jackson County landowners, because what if you got a tornado come through and takes the solar panels apart and scatters them beyond the adjoining property? So it would not be covered under these words that you have. Section 3, item 1, sub-item G, details of planned panel installation. Again, panels is not defined. Installations with specs. There's going to be more than that. There's going to be permanent electrical and power equipment installed permanently. There's going to be transmission poles, towers, and lines, and there's going to be little buildings to put this stuff in. So, sub-item G also has panel, not fine. I mentioned that, sorry. Item 2 says solar panels less than 15 feet in height. So there again, solar panels are defined. Solar panels are the manufactured units that convert solar into electricity.
Thank you.
So this is saying they have to be 15 feet.
Your time is up. Your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Alita Allen? Is she here? Okay. David Allen, is he here? Okay. Evelyn Allen? Alan Anderson?
So I'm Alan Clark Anderson. I'm the chair of the energy practice group at the Polsonelli Law Firm. I'm also a professor at the University of Kansas School of Law, where I teach an energy class there. Part of which is exactly what we're doing here today, which is looking at land use and zoning, and as well as the proper siting of projects. To take a kind of first overview of what we know, in the United States we have 248 gigawatts of solar energy already operating within the United States. Texas is the leader in utility scale with 44,689 megawatts of operating solar installations. Similar to Kansas, Texas has no mandates, there's no requirement to do renewable energy, it's simply the free market asking for that because it's good for the grid for a number of reasons. But what it also tells us, with that kind of volume, it's new to Jackson County and it's relatively new to Kansas. We've been doing this for decades. We know how to site projects and we know how to do it safely and appropriately. Solar, for example, the conditions you have in these ordinances would not allow for projects to move forward. Not whether you're for or against it, or whether or not they're proper based on the scientific engineering. I know there are people both on the board here and elsewhere who don't want it, and that's okay. But if you're going to do regulations as you're tasked to do, What they need to be is based on actual science and engineering. A lot of times what happens with the board is there's a lot of compromise. But it's the situation, the story of Solomon and the baby. The mothers come forward and they say, we'll split the baby. We can't forget that when we split the baby, we kill it. The same thing happens here with regulations. If you over-regulate, you will absolutely not allow a project to go forward. And why does that matter? The reason that matters is you have people in this county who have chosen to use their land for this project. Those people, if they're making a choice to economically do it, we can do it safely, and we can do it appropriately, and that's how they plan to use it. You're going to hear later, but I'll highlight, we've lost 19% of the family farms between 2017 and 2022 in Jackson County. These type of projects are the types of things that can save them. So again, when a body such as yours is looking at that, you have to decide, are we a strong location? So is Jackson County going to be strong on property rights or not? If we can cite it safely and appropriately, which of course we can in this case, is this county going to be one that protects those people that want to use their land appropriately and safely? It's not whether you're for solar or against solar. Again, Kansas does it for economic reasons. There's no mandates, there's no other requirements. It's good for rates, it's good for reliability. It's also good for communities. So when you're looking at your regulations, the question's going to be, are you going to let people use their farms and ranches for this purpose? Not whether you're for or against solar. It's whether you believe in property rights. I've submitted a red line with all the changes requested, but the acreage cap and the specifically are absolutely fair.
To the board up there, turn the mic up, turn that mic up. So everybody can hear, I know.
This one?
I think this one.
Turn off the speaker mic, please. Can't hear. The people out in the hallway can't hear anything, and there's a lot of people out there.
I know.
This isn't a public meeting if they can't be in the room.
How's that?
The room is too small. Did you?
The room is too small.
How's that? Good?
A little better.
More,
Good?
more,
How about that?
good.
Everybody's gonna have to get right up on the mic when you speak, okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the list is David Bascom. David Bascom.
Well, I'm here, but I don't have anything to say. I didn't realize you had signed up. I'm not a public speaker.
Okay.
Oh, come
I'll take
on.
your time. You can say whether you're for or against the resolution.
That's not.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm Dave Bascom, resident landowner in Jackson County, and I am in favor of it. Thank you.
That's why he was allowed.
Next, Sherman Bennett. I'm sorry, Sherman Burnett. Again, state your name, please.
Sherman Burnett. Hopefully you guys can hear me back there. My name is Sherman Burnett, and I am the new lead developer for Next Era Energy Resources, specifically for Jeffrey Solar. Next Era Energy Resources has been investing in Kansas for more than 2 decades, and our goal is to make sure that our proposal fits the interests and priorities of the community and make sure that we have a project that everyone can be proud of. For a project to be viable, we need a few things. Good solar resource, an ability to connect to the grid, landowners who voluntarily want to use their land for solar, a buyer of power, and lastly, county ordinances that are based on engineering and science and protect landowner rights. In this situation, we're 4 for 5. We have everything but reasonable ordinances. The latest driver regulations will not allow the project to move forward. These setbacks, as drafted proposed ordinance, are not based on science and engineering and simply take away landowner rights. In the red line that we propose, we suggest 300 feet from homes and 100 feet from property lines. This is in compliance with industry standard. An acreage cap of 2,000 acres means the project will not be large enough to be desired by buyers of power, and therefore there will be no project. Our current acreage plan for Jeffrey Solar could generate up to 500 megawatts of solar power. This is enough to power roughly 150,000 houses. If the commission creates ordinances that do not allow a project to be viable, it is taking away economic opportunity for Jackson County and taking away the property rights of the Jackson County landowner. Jeffrey Solar has the potential to create approximately $136 million in property tax, or in additional tax revenue over the life of the project. That's money for local schools, That's money for roads and essential services. Creating extreme ordinances provisions that are fatal is essentially a ban. The Commission has been asked to create ordinances, not a ban on solar energy. It is important for Jackson County to follow science and engineering in order to have reasonable ordinances. Again, I'm the new lead developer. I'm willing to speak to anybody afterwards. Thank you.
Got a question? I thought we were talking about specific items on the board, we're not talking about in general, is that correct? Or can we talk about in general here?
We're trying to address that section.
Now, the rules stated you had to quote items on the board, or on the regulations, not talk freely.
Mr. Larson, precedence has been set, point of order. Precedence has been set by this board. 2 members of next area have spoken outside the regulations, so precedence is set for the rest of us.
The next speaker on the list is Bo Bassett. Is Bo here tonight? Okay, Nicholas Bowser.
Good evening. My name is Nicholas Bowser.
Can't hear.
Right in the mic. There you go. Right in the mic.
Good evening. My name is Nicholas Bowser. I'm a farmer in Residence County. I appreciate the Commission's giving us this opportunity to speak this evening on the solar regulations. Some time ago, the County Commission said that they were interested in solar farms, and they appointed this body to come up with some rules of the road. They've been working on it for quite some time. And I signed up to speak in regards to the setbacks and the acreage caps. You're functionally killing this project, is what you're doing, whether that's by design or whether that's just a byproduct. But I think it's important for this solar project to go forward. Now, there's no shortage of opinions on the internet and the whole reporting about why we shouldn't do this. But I want to remind you guys and our county commissioners that this county is not in the business of regulating bucolic scenery. As a landowner, as a farmer, I have a right to plant corn. If you like looking at my corn, that's great. I may choose not to plant corn. I may put black cows out there when you like white cows. You know, I have a right to put an oil well in. I have a right to quarry the stone out if I want to. Because as a landowner, that's my right. And I should have the right to put solar panels on it if I want. And the way you got it written now is you're kind of taking that right away from me as a landowner. So, I don't have a whole lot more to say. Thank you for your time. You know, you still got some time to think this over, to get it right, to fix it before we submit this to the county commissioners. Thank you for your time.
Next, Don Breeze. Don Breeze.
My name is Don Breeze, and first I want to thank the members of the Planning Commission. I know you're not getting paid for this, and I appreciate the discussion and the civil discourse that took place as you went through this. I know it has not been easy, and it is obviously a controversial topic. When my family and I decided to think about this, we spent about a year before we signed some of our land in. We didn't sign all of it. It's not about the money, but obviously we needed to be paid for land to be taken out of service for 30, 40 years. Just to go over some of the regulations here to get. Why did we decide it? Well, one, obviously we're getting paid for it. Two, we think if it's done right, and I say if, it can be good for the county. It can be good for everyone in the county. Obviously the people living there, myself included, close enough. My son's moving there in the next year, and my brother and my cousin live there, so my uncle and aunt. we will have to look at. Anything you bring to the county will have a consequence. Doesn't matter if it's manufacturing plant, it doesn't matter if it's the 4-H grounds up here. Somebody will have a consequence. People living across the road obviously have to live with Saturday nights and Friday nights with rodeos and things. To go with the regulations, section 3.3C, not for sure if I understood that one. It was about 70% rule. If you're going to have regulations, I don't know if you need that one and setbacks. But again, I don't understand it, so I just thought I'd throw that in there. Section 3.4A, 2,000 acres. You know, when I first started thinking about this, I thought, and I looked on the website, I think it was a government website, it talked about 1%. 1% of America was renewable energy. That could do a big thing, so 1% of the county would be about 4,120 acres. I thought that sounded like a pretty good cutoff. 2,000 is, again, for them to build it, it's probably too small. And then the 1,000 feet setback, you know, I went to Kansas City today, and in the middle of Independence, there's probably a 30-acre solar farm, and it's surrounded by houses, and it's got a school on the north side. You don't hear it, they have trees around it. Sure, you can see it when you look, but I guarantee you, if it drives by there, don't look anymore. Anyway, that's...
Sorry, your time's up. Dan Brenner.
Thank you, Commissioners. Everyone hear me okay? Thank you and good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. For the last 12 years, I've been a City Commissioner, Warren County Commissioner. And of course, the number one question that was presented to me, how do we create economic growth for our county to lower property tax? Well, there's 4 projects that I've worked on in the last couple of years. 1 was impossible. We don't have the infrastructure for it. 2 have happened and are very successful today. And of course, the 4th one is the Jeffrey Solar Farm. Now, just this week, I reached out to our neighbors in Nemaha County. They have renewable energy up there and use the same company as well. I asked them, what kind of money do you receive for the projects they have up there? The clerk informed me that they receive $1 million a year for 30 years. That goes into their general fund. Also, they receive contributions on road improvements and for safety. Now, what would that look like in Jackson County? A couple of years ago, I wrote a program, and if you can, imagine a baseball field, please. First base is for road repairs. Put money aside for that. Second base is resiliency. Resiliency is covering emergency management, police, fire, ambulance, and medical. Money set aside for equipment and training. And then third base is decommissioning. Now, I also looked at the fact that most of the product is going to be recycled. They're not going to dig a ditch and throw it in a ditch, it's recycled. Money for property tax relief is home plate. I heard that noise, it doesn't me. Now, in the 1970s, Kansas Power and Light approached Jackson County about putting Jeffrey Energy Center in Jackson County. Like today, there's a lot of misinformation out there. I won't get into the misinformation, but I can tell you, I have yet to hear that solar farms attract outer space aliens. So, along those lines, Jackson County said no. Potawatomi County has Jeffrey Energy. To date, went across the road, they have reaped millions and millions of dollars in economic development. So I'm asking you tonight and in the future, don't make the same mistake that was made in the 1970s, and let's grow Jackson County economically. Thank you.
People can refrain from responding to a commenter, please. Pamela Brown.
My name is Pamela Brown, and I live in the southwest corner of Jackson County. So there's leased land right across from where we live. I was going to speak today, but I wanted to go through the regulations more. I didn't get a chance to go through everything. But after hearing one of the landowners talk, I decided to put my name on the list. And I just want to say that the non-participating landowners have rights too. And we can't forget that the reason that this project is even happening is because of tax dollars. So it's not only about property rights. It's about the tax money that is going to flow through these big energy corporations into the pockets of the participating landowners. But the non-participating landowners are the ones that are going to have to live with it. I have yet to see how we're going to be reimbursed for having to live next door or even surrounded by them. So, as planning commissioners, you are chosen by county commissioners to represent all of the residents, not just the participating residents. So I just, as you make your decisions, I'd like you to keep that in mind. I think it would be a whole nother story if this was all private enterprise, but this isn't private. When federal and probably even state tax money is being funneled through them, and we're cherry picking which residents are going to benefit by it. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, Herbert, Button, Booten.
Get it right first time, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Rick Budden, and I'd like to thank the Commission for the work that you've done on this. I know it's been a long process and a lot of work.
Can you try backing up just a little bit and see if that would help?
I have.
I'm watching that.
We'll just restart it and we'll see what it is that's.
Okay, but I do have a few objections. First of all, I do understand that part of your job in planning is to protect the rights of residents, people who are not part of this project, and but also that the property rights of the people involved in the project also need to be protected. We have the right to do not unlimited things with our property, but at least determine the way that we want our property to be used. Originally, as I understand, the setback from residences was 500 foot, and then it changed to 1,000 feet. That's already more than 3 football fields away from panels, and then now recently it's a quarter of a mile, so more than 4 football fields away. And then in addition to that, with the setbacks, that also have a buffering zone where we plan to plant trees, shrubs, fences, whatever, to further shield the view of the residence owner from the panels. I would ask, why, when they're a quarter of a mile away, would you need the buffering zone? Why, if you have a buffering zone, do you need to put things a quarter of a mile away? Second, there's been rumors on things spread particularly on social media about the land and the land of the neighbors being ruined, having some kind of ecological disaster. And contrary to these rumors, this land that we have, and I suspect a lot of our neighbors, it's not virgin prairie. It's not something that is going to be despoiled by this. Our land was plowed over, our land had non-native grasses planted on it, and the land was, we contacted, when this first came up, we contacted the Kansas Land Trust and said, what would you recommend? We thought about handing that over to the land trust, and they said, do the solar panels because it's going to have a non-petroleum based, non-coal foundation, and so that is going to be much better for the environment. Thank you very much for your time.
Next up is Mike Drippy. Good. See here. Okay. Richard Elliott.
Well, my name is Richard Elliott. I'd like to address Section 3, Paragraph 5B, page 10, in the regulations concerning setbacks and buffering. My main concern is the negative effects to the non-participating landowners. And I think these detrimental effects could be reduced or actually eliminated if the setback distance was increased to 1/2 mile. Now, let me give you some facts to support this recommendation. I did a little bit of study of this area, and I've divided the impact area into two segments. The south segment begins a 1.5 miles north of the city limits of Delia, proceeds north along E Road to 158th Road. Now the north section that I call begins at 158th Street and proceeds north along E Road again up to 1 mile south of K-16 Highway. I call that the north section. And I want you guys to realize or consider a family who's always wanted to live in the country, so they buy a small parcel of land, 5, 7 to 10 acres, and they build a dream home on it. Well, then here comes NextEra and puts solar panels all around the perimeter of their property, and the landowner across the road also wants solar panels. So there they are, surrounded 360 degrees by solar panels. Their quality of life and the value of their property has been greatly diminished. Now, I think this could be resolved or helped if we write the regulations requiring a 1/2 mile setback. This will require NextEra to consider placing most of the panel plots up north. And there's a lot of advantage to non-participating owners and to NextEra if they would produce or provide their solar panels up north. There'd be less homes impacted. There'd be fewer landowners to address. There'd be less agricultural land taken out of production.
I'm sorry.
There would be less.
I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Chris Norton.
Hey,
Coming up here. John Wartney. John Wartney.
Good evening, guys. Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for giving us this opportunity to address these regulations. I'd like to speak to you about Section 5.2, the post-construction and operation inspections. The way it reads now, the facility will be inspected after the first year and every 3 years thereafter by the county. That seems wholly inadequate. I work part-time for the safety department at Jeffers Energy Center, and I can tell you that the inspections that go on there are far more stringent than every 3 years. To give you an example, the facility itself is inspected twice a year by the state. The coal handling systems are inspected quarterly. Safety systems like fire extinguishers and fire hose bibs are inspected monthly. And eye wash stations and safety showers are inspected weekly. So that's just an idea of the sort of inspection that goes on in a power plant. I understand this is a different sort of power plant, but it needs to be looked at more than once every 3 years, I would think. That seems reasonable to me. So if you don't require inspections in these regulations, they simply won't happen. And I would recommend that the county inspect the facility at least once a year, if not twice a year, and that they require the operator to inspect the safety systems monthly, just to ensure that we don't have any mishaps. And the entire facility for damage, anytime the facility is within the area of a severe weather warning. It seems reasonable to me, given the weather that we have, the hail that we have, the winds that we have. You know, these are going to be on frames, but it's going to be a sail, and the wind's going to catch them, and there's just the possibility of damage there. These inspections could be documented, and the documentation could be available for the county to inspect when they come to do their either annual or twice-a-year inspections. Once again, if these inspections aren't required by the regulations, they're not going to happen. And they're necessary to ensure the safe operation of the facility. Do you fellas have any questions for me? All right, thank you for your time.
My car radio is louder than this thing. Let's get this straight, okay?
I can hear you guys fine up there, but we can't hear nothing that's coming out of the mic.
Fix it.
You may have to get closer to the microphone.
It's the proximity of your mouth to the microphone. The closer you are to it, the better. If you're 6 foot tall, take it off the stand.
Hey, hey, you want to try one of those instead? Just shut that off. Yeah.
That's it.
How about this one? So there might be some interference going on with another mic so close to it. We might be getting feedback, maybe. All right. We'll try this for a while.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Okay, Luke Hagedorn. Kevin Ali.
Thank you. I was going to make a joke about the microphones and how that tax revenue could be directly applied. My name is Kevin Hallwine. I moved my family out here to Jackson County 17 years ago. I grew up in western Kansas. I went to K-State, and then followed my engineering career to Minnesota, Texas, Colorado, and finally back home to rural Kansas. While these regulations look comprehensive on paper, sadly I believe they're designed to rubber stamp industrial solar development while just creating the illusion of meaningful oversight, and I'll explain a few. First of all, the regulations claim to limit commercial solar to no more than 2,000 acres. We already gentlemen saying that wasn't enough, but he's probably okay because that's nearly 3 square miles of industrialization. But buried in the fine print of those regulations, the Planning Commission can waive even this massive limit for a, quote, site-specific characteristics. So 2,000 is not really a limit. Essentially giving them carte blanche to approve projects of any size. Essentially, this is not a limitation, it's a suggestion with a built-in escape clause. The regulations require developers to hold neighborhood meetings, but explicitly state that no result from the meeting shall be deemed to be a reason to allow or deny a permit. We've already heard some residents talk through that. This makes the community input purely ceremonial, unfortunately. Meanwhile, the 1 mile notification radius ensures that many affected neighbors probably won't know about it until construction begins, unless maybe half of them are here already. The regulations play lip service to preserve farmland. I think that's the hardest one, folks, is that while allowing up to 10% grading on prime ag soil, I'm quoting page 15 here. Say we get to 10,000 acres, that's 1,000 acres of permanently damaged topsoil. The agrivoltaic regulations are so vague, merely requiring compatibility agricultural uses, end quote, that token sheep grazing or a few beehives can satisfy this provision, while 99% of the land is industrialized. The regulations allow the developers to escape financial responsibility through corporate shell games. When the parent company dissolves, when the company who implements dissolves or declares bankruptcy, which is a common practice in the solar industry, community is going to be left holding the bag. Jackson County will be left holding the bag. Simply put, the regulations don't require a parent company or the landowner guarantees. If the landowner wants to develop their own land, that's one thing, but when you sub it out to somebody, it's a whole different thing. So it would seem to me, ladies and gentlemen, that these regulations are really not designed to control industrial solar development. They're actually designed to facilitate it, while providing legal cover against lawsuits. They create the appearance or the illusion of regulation, while in fact systematically removing barriers.
Time is up. Mike Hoffman.
Hi, my name is Michael Hoffman. I live in Jackson County off of E Road. And thankfully they've given me the time to consider my opinion today. I think I followed up on something very good when we talked about Jackson County holding the bag. Page 24 in section 4, paragraphs 12A and 12B states that decommissioning reclamation plan shall include provisions for removal of all structures, foundations, and underground wiring, and any and all materials formed to site prior to installation. This degree of decommissioning is not cheap. In section 26, page 26, section 4, paragraph 15C, it speaks of the decommissioning regarding an estimated cost. Could we put more emphasis, this is a rhetorical question, not a direct question, could we put more emphasis on where the estimated decommissioning costs are sourced and how much? I handed you a copy of the National Renewable Energy Laboratory report, which was issued in February of 2021. And they conducted a study in 2020 to estimate the costs of decommissioning for a photovoltaic system. This study estimated, this pre-COVID prices, costs up to $440 per kilowatt in decommissioning, as shown on page 10 of that document I handed you. This is going to be higher in 30 years. Without assuming any increase in decommissioning costs in 30 years, the proposed solar project of 500 megawatts would be more than $220 million to decommission. That's the bag we might be left to hold, according to the National Renewable Energy Laboratory's report. If this cost is hung on the county and the landowners, instead of benefiting from this project, we may incur financial hardships. I understand that much time has already been put into these regulations. Would it not be worthwhile to take a little bit more time to detail the information regarding these costs and specify quotes for decommissioning costs in the regulations, so we're not left holding the bag? It wouldn't hurt to have data on hand from sources who do not have a vested interest in the project's outcome in the regulations. Thank you.
Tom Hoffman.
Can you hear me okay? Okay. I'd like to address, first of all, 5E regarding runoff on the panels. I believe there should be some notes in there that say that the runoff must be 100% of the surface area as impervious of the panels in contact with the ground. And the reason I say that is currently they only use the post as a runoff area and not the entire surface area. So Virginia's had a lot of problems with runoff, so that's what they adopted in the state of Virginia from just a couple of 1,000-acre solar facilities. So just think of a carport with 4 posts in it, and it's 12 feet by 20 feet. The only thing that they have to be responsible for is 1 foot or so where it touches the ground to run up. But in fact, that's a 240 square foot carport we just said, and that's running off onto your neighbors. That's one of the biggest problems that happens from these solar facilities. They do not do adequate retention ponds to stop the runoff. And the city of Rossville is the target area for any additional runoff. Section 15, the insurance and decommissioning. I notice it mentioned just insurance, but they must include non-participating landowners and the county as additional insured. It's inexpensive to do, easy to do, and so that if there is a storm, product, panels, inverters end up on your land, end up in Banner Creek, we know that it's covered through that insurance as additionally insured. That is extremely important, especially since they deny so many claims that are legitimate already. We also need indemnification for non-participating landowners. If I have a lawnmower catch fire and it spreads over there and causes $50 million of damage, I can't pay that. I would be responsible because it happened on my property. I didn't ask for this facility to be put next door. Noise limits. Section 12. Currently, there's no limits at the property lines. Many homes are hundreds of feet from their own property line. Allowing 50 or 60 dB at the home, you could end up with 100 at the property line. You can't go outside and play. The kids can't go out there. It's like, come in, get your plugs so you can go out and play in your own yard. That makes the property not usable, the entire part of it, during normal hours. So there should be a limit. The limit at the household should be moved to the property line. It's easy for them to go ahead and provide noise mitigation. They can do that quite easily, but move that from house to property line so my kids can play in my yard. Thank you.
Terrence Hoffman. Helen Cook. I'm sorry.
My name is Ellen Cook, and I live in Irish Creek Wind Farm built by NextEra. Your solar regulations. Will NextEra and Jeffrey Solar follow them? NextEra did not in Marshall County. Section 4, number 6 of your road regulations, traffic and road. Take a look at this picture with the not approved haul route sign on the right-hand side of the road. How well did they follow these regulations? Take note of the equipment. This was no accident. The moving of this equipment was planned. What good will your regulations do in a situation like this? Safety regulation number 9. They placed over a foot of loose gravel on this bridge using plywood and siding without the county's permission. How safe is this? After this was reported, the rock and plywood were removed because they hadn't followed the regulations. Section 1, number 3, extraordinary events. Do you have enough regulations in place should a disaster happen with this solar field? And it will. It only took 16 months for the blade to fall apart on the turbine in Marshall County. We picked up fiberglass 2,154 feet on non-participating landowner's farm. Is a situation like this covered in your regulations? My cousin was farming that waterway below the blade that exploded, ruining the farm ground. We worked for 10 months jumping through hoops, and that's what they ever created, to get a settlement on the hay. How are your regulations going to help a farmer like this? Section 3 contains fencing in your regulations. In the Irish Creek Wind Farm, a turbine needs to be repaired, and the township road to it was blocked with snow. They brought in equipment and shoved the snow off the road onto the non-participating landowners' land, destroying 700 feet. The Frankfurt NextEra office declined to provide reimbursement for the damage. On May 1st, 2024, I handed an envelope like this to NextEra attorney Alan Anderson and asked him to help this landowner. The total bill was $6,050, pocket change for $1 billion company. Alan called me later and told me NextEra would not reimburse the landowner for his fence. Tonight I'm handing this envelope to Alan one more time to ask him to help this farmer and to prove what kind of a good neighbor NextEra wants to be. This farmer's been waiting for almost 2 years for compensation. I'll let you know what the landowner and I hear from Alan before the October 2nd meeting. How good are your regulations? And who's going to enforce them? Have you covered every angle? Even if you have, will they follow them? Make sure your regulations take care of the taxpayers in your county before they take care of a company from Florida. Regulations are only as good as paper they're written on.
Yeah, baby.
Joe Craig. Rex Larison.
I'm gonna try to follow the rules. They were set forth. I'm gonna give you guys each a handout. What I'm gonna talk about, part of what we talked about. I'm Rex Larison. I'm here to talk about the solar. I tried to follow the rules and regulations set forth. So I'll go down through the things that I have. First one is page 4, section 2. Currently it says shall consider. It should say must or shall. We can't have this considered because that doesn't mean that they have to do it. Page 7, section 2, item number 2, subsection A. Zoning district, your building is supposed to follow A1. A1 zoning is very, very lenient. So if we're going to have a building or something that's built for solar, it needs to be something besides A1 homes. Page 7, section 3, item number 3, subsection B. Question is, why was this struck out? There was an item on there. It says, proposal may not be within 2 miles of another facility. So the question is, are they going to be allowed to be within 2 miles or not within 2 miles? I guess that's struck out for a reason. Page 7, section 3, item number 3, subsection F. It should be noted this is historical Flint Hills with natural burial. Page 7, section 3, item 4, subsection A, a strikeout. Should be struck out from 2,000, I would say, to 200 kilometers. There's nothing said that, like was said before, it's 2,000 acres, but it doesn't say how many times it can be done or if that can be changed at any time. Page 8, section 3, item 5, need to put must use. And that would be under the glare. The following measures can be utilized to limit glare. But it said it should be changed to must use, which would be texture glass and or reflective lensing screen, distance, position units. It shouldn't just be can be utilized, that should be changed to must use. Page number 8, section 3, item 6. Again, it was struck out, and it was put in other means. Should be detailed how to do it, rather than just other means. Other means is very vague to allow something to happen. Page 10, section 3, item 8, subsection B. I think it should be changed from the 1,320 feet up to a mile setback. If I was living next to this place, I definitely want to be a mile away. Page 10.
Brian Mackey.
My name's Brian Mackey, I'm from Piedmont County, Kansas. My family's farmed in this area in southwest Jackson County since 1968. And I wanted to come stop by one of your meetings and watch. I sat in on the planning commission meeting, and I can see that you're diligently working on protecting Jackson County from somebody coming in and running roughshod all over the place. I get it. Having said that, I was involved in the Next Era project in Nemaha County where they put the wind farm in, and I signed up a farm there. And I didn't get it. It's section C3, whatever. The setbacks were so large that the smaller farm owners didn't really qualify. It needed to be a bigger contiguous lot. And so they went around with that. But we rented some ground from a farmer that got 2 wind towers. And they went in, I mean, you know, we had the farm while they were putting those in, and I have to say on the Next Era side, they were easy to get along with. They plotted out where the stuff was going to go. They asked if that was all right. One, you know, where the spray booms work out and things, we wanted them to move a little bit, and they moved it for us, and they were easy to get along with. And we mapped out where the service roads were going, and they said, yeah, that worked. So they're easy to get along with in that regard. Environmental concerns, they literally put a sign in anything that's environmentally sensitive area, and if it's a larger area, they'll put more posts and rope that off, and they don't even go anywhere near it during the project. So, and I can only speak to, you know, my experience with Next Era, and it's been good that way. They're not like the big bad bear that you gotta be worried about. They're responsible for they're big enough, there's enough eyes on them and scrutiny in these projects where they follow the rules and they want to work with you guys with what you come up with, the other rules you set forward. They're going to stick with them in my opinion. So, and the second point, like up in Nemaha County, there's a pretty good revenue that comes in if you do happen to get a solar farm here. I'd suggest you're tagging some of that, you're marking some of that money for southwest Jackson County, so this road projects and paving and the fire departments and stuff down in that area gets the first pick on some of the projects that may be neglected in the future. So that's all I had to say, but a human touch on what's happening.
John McCollins. John McHugh.
Kevin McKeon, I live on C Road.
Use the other line.
Sorry. Kevin McKeon, I live on C Road. I would be directly impacted by this. Section 1, Article 3, it lists the definition of extraordinary events, and among them you have wind, storm, hail, fire, etc. I don't know how that would be extraordinary in this part of Kansas, or really any part of the Midwest. Just in my travels to work, I work for an ag retailer, I get around a lot. There's a small wind or a solar farm not very far from here in the Lomego area that I've got pictures of solar panels stacked up on the ground that were destroyed by hail. The whole thing had to be redone. That was probably 20 acres or less. I can't imagine what that would look like going through 5,000 acres worth of solar panels. Section 2, Article 1, quote at the end, it says, preserve the public health and welfare and protect adjoining landowners and properties. Just a quick count of the area, there's at least 38 different residences located in the proposed site, but yet I feel like a lot of the regulations that you have listed are very subjective, and they don't actually list out any real rules of force to go behind them. in the same article, Part E, I read an article about that same thing, and they highly recommend getting a third party in, as well as your NRCS office, and then to address the watershed and the soil erosion stuff. Obviously, there's a ton of watershed lakes around us. We're also across there. That whole thing's an issue that I don't think is adequately addressed in the regulations. I think on the surface, there's a lot of things that look good. I just think that they actually lack substance. And as far as the CSECs, or the commercial scale stuff, and you have an LSEC, I would personally think you would be better off as a county to back off of the utility scale. And actually, if landowners are really into this, do the LSEC, get together your neighbors. If you want to have a community-based solar for the town of Dahlia to keep the power at Dahlia, and you can find something to do that, more power too. But as of right now, if you're not participating, you're just hoping that tax dollars trip your way. Otherwise, you're stuck with living with everything right next to you. There's a couple other things in here, just to be quick. They also address lighting, noise, etc., etc. Those are things I never considered before, but obviously in transformers and inverters and whatever equipment, they do make noise. And if there's security lighting, I find it hard to believe that you could do that without really lighting up the whole night sky. I mean, this whole project is about 17 square miles worth. I think it'd be pretty hard to hide that. So, thank you for your time.
The secondary microphone back away, so we get less feedback for everyone.
This one's not headline, so
Kathleen McMahon.
My name is Kathleen McMahon. My husband and I live in the Dahlia zip code and 2 miles from the target area. I just want to thank this board for hearing our concerns about the solar regulations. Thank you for listening. We need to protect rural Jackson County and the fragile legacy that agriculture embodies. We have a chance to put in important solar regulations in place that will protect the non-participating landowners and families that will be surrounded by an industrial solar power plant. I would like the generations to come to see that we have tried as a community to protect Jackson County from potential of being the largest solar installation in the United States. In Section 2, under 1A, the regulations list items that shall be considered in addressing application and then various reports that to be considered. We need to do better than this. The wording isn't detailed enough in and throughout subsection A through I. Which specific reports and tests are going to be used and why? Citizens want to know the details to be informed. I have attended over a year's worth of Monday Jackson County Commissioner meetings. I have heard the commissioners in 2024 talking about bringing in experts to discuss the possible toxic substances in the panels. They have also discussed bringing in engineers to answer their questions about how this installation will affect the character of the land and the people that will be surrounded by it. But nothing has happened except words. No action, no experts, no discussion beyond the superficial. I request that these regulations need to be very detailed or else they might not be followed. Specific studies should be named and by which organizations. Possibly we also need a third-party witness when the studies are being done on county land and water. What is listed in the regulations is a great start, but without specifics, how do we actually know if we are receiving the appropriate information to make the best decisions for all parties? This solar power plant has a large footprint for very small electrical gains. We really need to know the details with the names of the specific studies so we can receive all the necessary data. The people of Jackson County have a lot of unanswered questions, and what we are asking is not to rush through these regulations. Let's have real in-person conversations with those that this will impact the most. What are their concerns? This would be a real step towards trust and community involvement. That's why we are all here today. We want these regulations to reflect the needs of Jackson County citizens. Bring in the citizens, especially those that will be directly affected in various environmental agencies to get the best information possible. Engineers and conservation organizations are important, while also talking to the people who currently live around similar installations. to gain feedback and data. We know who wants to rush this project forward, and we need this board's help to write regulations that protect the citizens of Jackson County so we don't end up regretting this decision because we didn't ask enough important questions before moving forward.
Angelo Peroni. Boyd Plankinson. Boyd Plankinson. Helen Plankinson. Phil Ponovchek. David Schmitz, I'm sorry. Sarah Sexton Bowser. Steve Shelton. Joseph Strong.
Back here.
So my name is Joseph Strong. Section 3, number 4, size systems on the property. A lot of this has already been commented on. In order to maintain the rural character and preserve agricultural land, commercial solar project areas should be no more than 1 2,000 acre site. I actually wanted to say thank you for the fact that you want to maintain rural character. Out of all the things that I've heard over the last 2 years, because I've been very involved, the desire to maintain rural character is not really mentioned. I moved here specifically for the rural character. And so a massive industrial solar complex will destroy that character. I mean, and I'm glad that you recognize that. So 2,000 acres, you know, we would probably argue with that. But please don't make it any bigger than that. 2,000 acres is already very large. It's already industrial, I mean, in the eyes of everybody. So I live in an area that's A1 agricultural. I will be in the solar field. I will be in the solar fields, or surrounded anyway, but not as bad as some of my neighbors. Some of my neighbors are completely boxed in by this solar field. There's a road running through, but on all four sides of their house, they will have a solar field. So I would suggest that if you're going to stick with 2,000 acres, and there's only going to be one of them, the rumor now is that there's 2,000 acres leased. Surely in that 12,000 acres, there's a 2,000 acre spot that is away from non-participating people that don't want it nearby, and we can make everybody happy that way. That if you just move it out. So when you talk about the solar panels on section 3, number 8, the solar panels have a minimum of 1,300 feet from the residence. That really should be the property line, because I want to use my whole property, and I don't really want to have it only 300 feet away. It's just, it's not keeping and maintaining the rural character. I've raised all my children. That's why I came out here, was to raise children in a rural area, to have them respect a rural lifestyle. But now they bring their children to my home because they want their children to experience that, even though they live in Topeka. And to drive by miles and miles of solar panels to get to the house and be surrounded by it. So, thank you.
Ashley Swain. Michelle Thompson. Was there welcome here tonight? Evan Will. Evan Will. Okay, we will move to the list of people who have signed in tonight. Okay, first on the list of people who have signed in tonight to speak is Doug Fisher.
Yeah.
I'm Doug Fisher. Good evening. I'm a lifelong resident, farm owner in western Jackson County. I have many concerns I wish to address, but I will stick to just one for the moment. Part of the proposal I wish to address at this time is on page 26, item 13, entitled Airports or Airstrips. So my remarks will be mainly concerning that. In 1982, I planned to construct an airstrip our family farm is over half mile long, and it has existed since that time. My experience is I've made many landings and takeoffs at many different small airfields in the Midwest and many different airplanes. Most of my experience that I'm talking about is I have significant experience in operating multiple types of aircraft in the transitioning phase between landing on the ground and in flight, and evaluating airfields for safety-related issues. The section in question states, if a system is proposed to be placed within 5 miles of a military airfield, commercial airport, or a strip, the applicant shall provide evidence compliance with all federal and state laws and regulations that relates to these airfields or strips or airports. That sounds really good, but actually it means almost nothing. The state doesn't regulate these airfields out in the country. There's a false assumption that creates any safety environment for the airports out here in the country. This county and the county seat have elected not to provide public use airports to facilitate economic development in this state or in this county. This places the burden on the individual owner or pilot who wishes to use those advantages. To this existing language, I would add in its under papers, compliance with applicable federal and state laws is a continuing obligation for the entire law for the project, etc. Another entirely new section needs to be added to allow safe operations for existing airports and airfields that are acting in lieu of publicly funded airports. The wording would be solar panels, pertinent structures in any above ground transmission lines of any type shall be located within 1 statute mile, 5,280 feet, from any existing runway or landing area on any airport, airfield, or airstrip landing area, regardless of whether or not shown on federal aviation maps. Airports not shown on the federal aviation map shall include all airports, airfields, or airstrip landing areas identifiable by the existence of wind indicator of any type, an aircraft hangar, or identifiable runway or landing area. Lesser setbacks may be agreed to by the airport property owner as stated. This will provide a usable but non-optimum distance for safe operations for these airports that were in existence prior to regulations. And I will be providing the committee with further detail on my listing later today.
It's not on. It's not on. Your microphone's not on.
The next signature appears to be Randy Meyer.
Rando.
Hello, my name is Riley Meyer. I've been a resident here in Jackson County for 23 years. I'd first like to thank all of the planning board for doing your civic duty and serving your country. I know that it's hard on you guys. I know you're getting pressured from every single angle, but I have to tell you that the solar project and its legacy, when you
My first comment is on section 2, paragraph 1. You say the purpose of these regulations is to provide requirements and rules for such use and to identify significant environmental, social, and economic impacts. Yet nowhere in the regulations do I see anyone addressing the property values around the solar project.
Amen.
Lawrence Berkeley National Lab says that property values will decrease by 7%. Just this year, the New York Times shared another study suggesting that it would be at least 12%. The planning board should require NextEra and Jeffrey Solar to compensate these innocent people for their loss. Next, section 3(1)(c) and C(1)(i) state that the corporation must provide a certificate of good standing from their state of incorporation and list past projects wherever located for the delivery of power. This confuses me. Jeffrey Solar was formed as an LLC on November 12, 2024. They have no previous projects. If you're using NextEra projects, we must also include the list of lawsuits over the last 10 years, and a simple Google search will reveal many. One of them is recent as November 2024. Further, if Jeffrey Solar is to be used as a shell company, removing the risk from NextEra, who will be left holding the bag if something bad happens? I would assume you would add language to protect the taxpayer from this risk. Further, section 4(1)(c) goes on to say that, again, they must disclose ownership, standing, and state of incorporation. The filing 100144684 was filed less than a year ago, and the company's domestic state is listed as Delaware. I hope this board. Somebody cut me off? Okay. I hope this board is not okay with.
Come on.
It's all right. It's all right. I hope this board is not okay with allowing the risk to be held at a one-year-old company with no operating history. If they file bankruptcy, it'll be Jackson County who foots the bill. Further, section 15(c) talks about decommissioning. If a shell company must be used, 100% of the decommissioning cost should be escrowed. The Center of Rural Affairs suggests this should be 40% of the total cost of the project. I know all of you care about Jackson County just like I do. This language must be added. Finally, section 4(1), the board has a long list of things that must be considered, and although this list is good and well thought out, it surprises me not to see a requirement on the manufacturer of origin. To support this further, in section 4(9)(k), you state that the solar panels must meet UL 1703, but I see no requirements regarding the inverters and other equipment. Recent news reports confirm that our adversaries have been putting kill switches and other things in the electronics we buy. The Economic Times headline reads, and I quote, "Chinese kill switches found in U.S. solar projects." MSN, Fox, and Reuters ran similar stories in May of 2025. Wouldn't it make sense to require American-made products? I would encourage the planning board to put an additional focus on, one, our most essential freedom, which is property rights. To what the attorney mentioned earlier, that means everybody, not just the selected few. A shell company risk management requirement and an American-made focus. This would make this much more tolerable, not just to me, but the people of Jackson County. Thank you.
Next on the list is Diane Buchan.
My name is Diane Budden. I grew up in Delia, and my mom got a teaching job up here when I was in 6th grade, and I graduated from high school. We have land, 95 acres, on the southwest area of Jackson County. Those that want these extreme regulations are only harming neighboring farmers and ranchers from doing what they deem a right and economical and contributable use of their land. These regulations will take away from our ability to use our land as a benefit to provide less pull on the electrical grid that we all are a part of. Specifically, we need to change these ordinances as follows. Reduce the setbacks. Do not make them so difficult. Make them reasonable distances. These extreme setbacks just take away our use of our land as we see fit. The setbacks in the red line that you've already been presented with paper give reasonable distances. 300 feet from residences. That's a lot right there. And up where I grew up, we had cedar trees less than that away from our house. We wouldn't have seen any of this stuff that we're talking about. Those cedar trees are still there. The setbacks, wait a minute. It is outrageous to think that a 12-foot solar panel needs to be almost 4 football fields away from someone's home. A setback from property lines of 300 feet is similarly outrageous. 100 feet from a property line would be totally reasonable. If you have a 300-foot setback from a property line on a section or half section parcel, that is taking away 1,584,000 square feet away from otherwise safe and economic use of the land. There simply is no justification for this extreme outrageous restriction on our property. Remove the acreage cap or make it a reasonable one. 1/2 of 1% of the acreage in the county as a cap is an unreasonably low figure. There will not even be enough land to help the pull on the grid. There is need for 5,000 acres for this project to go forward in order to make an impact on the grid. And 2,000 acres is a non-starter. The language around acreage and red line provides a realistic approach to this.
So your time is up.
Thank you very much.
Spencer Culver.
Good evening. My name is Spencer Culver. I'm with Pulselli Law Firm. I'm here to talk about the acreage cap in Section 3.4a of the solar regulations. The premise for the acreage cap is supposed to be the preservation of agricultural lands, but solar energy is not the primary threat to ag lands in Jackson County. The more critical threats are the growth and suburban sprawl from Topeka and the spread of the invasive red cedar in this county and this part of the state. In fact, the USDA Census of Agriculture has found that the number of acres that are farmed in Kansas has gone down considerably in the past 5 years, between 2017 and 2022. It's gone down 21%, from 421,000 acres to 334,000 acres. This project would occupy a mere 1% of the acreage in Jackson County. And solar is good for family farmers. It's an important thing to be able to bring valuable income into the farm and preserve an income for these farmers if there's a bad crop year, if weather affects it, if prices aren't where they need to be, or if there are other things that are going on in the family. The number of family farms in Jackson County has likewise declined. The USDA has also reported on this that the number of family farms has decreased by 19% between 2017 and 2022. Solar energy on small family farms is important to keep these farms afloat and preserve them for generations to allow people to have a steady income. Next, solar energy is good for the land. It's important and allows land banking. While solar energy is there, it's a temporary use. It's there for 30 or 40 years, and during that period of time, the land will lie fallow, much like the Conservation Reserve Program, and restore the soil nutrients, the microbiome of the soil. After the project is decommissioned, it will be returned to agricultural use, or whatever use that landowner wants to use the land for, which is restorative to agricultural lands. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You went to college. Charlie never got to. Joyce Cochran.
Get Joyce Cochran.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. I do appreciate your time as a planning commission. I know it's been going on for several years. My name is Joyce Cochran. We live in Holton now as a retired couple, but still on land near Circleville. I grew up in Marietta and still have friends and family living in that area, some near the proposed solar farm. It's our understanding that the electricity generated there will not benefit Jackson County residents. Transmission lines will be built to carry it to faraway places to be sold. I have read, reread, and studied a copy of the regulations that have been edited and changed. The ifs and mays and vague wording still seem to leave room for other possibilities that I find frightening. I can't pretend I understand everything that these lawyers write up, but the edits and removal of some items make me wonder, why? I found in Section 3, location property site that originally the ECS project had a limited total 2,000 acres. That's the area we first read about in the local newspaper, and red flags didn't go up. But now it's up to 12,000 acres that have been leased. As I gathered information, I found that 27 lease agreements have been signed by landowners starting as early as 2022. Of that number, only 8 of the landowners signing these leases live within the Jackson County, Jackson County. Addresses of 19 other lessees include towns of St. Mary's, Topeka, Rossville, Emmett, Chapel Hill, Tennessee, Bellevue, Sun City, Arizona, Lawrence, Seneca, Baileyville, Holton, Nevada, Kansas City, Missouri. This would mean big money over years to those willing to give leases, but would be costly for those who own land in close proximity. What will it do to their land values and insurance premiums? What will it mean if weather causes destruction of these solar panels? I know what it would mean. It would mean the release of toxic chemicals and blast showers into land and water. Comparing the cornfield being destroyed by a tornado or by hail is nothing compared to this destruction of solar farms if it happened in our area. In the same way, Fairgrounds across the street, we live from Fairgrounds across the street. That's 3 or 4 days a year. That's no problem. A warehouse would not have a 12,000 acre footprint. Am I not on the mic? Okay. I also understand that our federal tax money is actually paying for them to benefit. It's subsidized, okay? So please do not advise the county commissioners to move ahead granting Jeffrey Solar the opportunity to build this proposed project. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Howard Carter, my wife and I own pasture land outside of Surflands with my family for 95 years. The county firefighters are all volunteers to spend a lot of time taking care of the equipment, training.
We're gonna pause a second, okay, because I don't think I have. Oh, yeah, the timer's not going in.
Our county firefighters are all volunteers to spend a lot of time taking care of the equipment, training, and then responding to calls when they're needed. Our son-in-law is a Wichita fireman, and we know the hazard these men face when they spend hours in very dangerous conditions, fighting fires, saving lives and property. We understand our local firemen will need training in case of a wildfire or electric fire breaking out in the solar power plant. Is that the burden we really want? In section 4 of the regulations, no number 9, fire and emergency service fire and safety. There's 12 listings that say at this time. And if there's an extraordinary event at this commercial solar power plant, these listings are not just a guess at what might happen at the site of a solar farm. We have former classmates who live in Texas. The weather they experienced there is much like we had. In Wichita, just 2 weeks ago, hailstones were so large they totaled my grandson's car, including the windshield. A hailstone that destroyed panels would mean the release of toxic chemicals and elements into the ground and soil, water that would be affected in wells and be carried downstream, affecting the water of Dewey, Russell, and possibly the city of Dillon. We have heard stories from Texas of the mixed air companies operating under various names like Jeffrey Solar. When an extraordinary event happened, panels were destroyed. The company had time to survey and test damage before reporting to local authorities. During that time, they filed for bankruptcy, and the owners of the land and land were left with the cost of the cleanup. We would never get permission for any kind of commercial company to come on our property, even if it meant for big money. We think too much of our land, our neighbors, our children and grandchildren and futures that follow. We want to thank you guys for thank you for the jobs you guys are doing. Please, please do not pass a recommendation on to our county commissioners. I would prompt them to vote in favor of letting the commercial solar electric company go forward with the plans in Jackson County. Thank you.
Tracy Sims.
Tracy.
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank this committee for all the hard work that they've done. I understand that you've been asked to work outside of your wheelhouse because you are volunteers. So I want to thank you for your diligence and your devotion. Thank you. To be honest, I didn't really write a speech to read. I'll just have to speak to you from my heart because it's only I know how to do things. It was difficult to put together a handful of concerns. What happens? Can you? Okay, I'm sorry, you guys. It was difficult to put together a handful of concerns regarding this project because nearly every aspect is a concern. My main concern is the location. We are an agricultural community, and this proposal is an industrial proposal. I fear that there are not enough stringent regulations written into these regulations to preserve our agricultural heritage in this part of the country. I feel that this project would be better situated in a more desert climate where we don't get the extreme weather. Hello? Well, we don't get such, hello? I don't know. I'm saying hang on.
Oh dear. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen to me. I don't know. We'll keep trying. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Is it no? Yes? Up here?
No.
Now what?
How about this? We're going to try this one again?
Does this work?
Yes.
Okay. Yay! I just feel like this industrial solar project would be served better in a different location. We get so much extreme weather in this part of the country. A hailstorm, God forbid a tornado, we are called Tornado Alley, would impact the breakage of the glass would impact not only the solar farm itself, but it would impact non-participating landowners, and that would render that land unusable forever. You can't graze cattle where there's glass on the ground. We're an agricultural community. That's just all there is to it. I have one last point because I see my time is coming near. And I don't see it in the regulations, maybe I've missed it, but I would absolutely insist upon the stipulation for a public vote before this goes forward. The other thing that I had, that I was, thank you guys.
Jay Sims, thanks for what you guys
Good evening. I'm Jay Sims. Been a Jackson County resident since 2002. Jackson County resident since 2002. My parents graduated from Denison High School. My grandparents operated farms. And in 2002, we moved to a farm here in Jackson County. Thank you for each and every one of the members that giving up their time for no compensation and doing the hard work that's required to write these regulations. You guys are doing a great job. You're working really hard. But I was amazed by the regulation that Doug came up with a few minutes ago. It was just so clear and concise, and you could tell that it was written by somebody that has been exposed to this type of thing for a long time. And it seems like you guys are doing, maybe you don't need the help, but it seems like the help might be required to get an airtight language into this stuff so that there's no wiggle room for the pictures the lady held over her hand. We don't need to have wiggle room for those things to happen. All right, what else? That was my introduction. Why aren't the cities of Jackson County that don't live off the highway, why aren't the citizens of Jackson County that don't live off the Highway 75 treated the same as those who do live off the 75 highway? In the solar regulations, Section 3, subsection 3A, those that live off the Highway 75 are lucky enough to have this 2-mile buffer from this industrial solar power plant. But those who don't live in a city off the Highway 75, those Jackson County citizens have only 1 mile distance from the 2000 industrial power plant. What gives? Why do some cities receive a larger buffer than others? Don't we all deserve a decent life in rural Jackson County, that we should be given the same luxury of not having to see a power plant in our backyard? No one who lives in and around farmland wants to live next to or surrounded by a 2,000-acre industrial solar plant. If we must, which we don't, have this destruction of agricultural lands, then move it farther away north where there are less cities and people. Obviously, the citizens that live off of I-75 don't want to look at this garbage, so move it away, far away from Delia 2. It's still going to be an eyesore and a whole lot of trouble for the county, but at least it will inflict less damage and heartache when the next tornado, hailstorm, or windstorm comes through. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Gene Hageman.
Good evening. Hello? Okay. I am not a public speaker, and am I nervous? Yes, but I'm going to stumble through this. I would
You might need to hold the mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I want to thank you guys for the work that you do. I know you work hard in keeping our community safe and beautiful. With that being said, I, for the life of me, cannot understand why, if you want to push this through, the harm that it's going to cause, I would say possible, but I think probable harm to the environment seems to far outweigh any benefit that is going to come our way. The possibility of fire, it talks about in the regulations. Is there going to be somebody there maintaining this thing full time? That if there's a fire, they're going to, I know it said there's a lockbox. So a fire department's going to have to be called, get out there, get the lockbox so they can get in. Is there, who's monitoring this? Is there someone there all the time? Is there a security guard? Who knows what's going on there? And, excuse me, how far away are they if they need to get there? Do they have an automatic shut-off 100 miles away, states away, that they're going to shut this down? And we do have tornadoes in Kansas. If a tornado comes through, who's going to clean that mess up? I know it said it's minimizing the use of topsoil, the degradation of topsoil in the construction. But if this goes 5 miles to somebody's field or pasture, are they going to scrape that all off and replace that topsoil? Like the lady said, that's field or pasture is ruined. It's gone. You can't do that with glass there. So is there anything, I don't see anything in the regulations about that. I might have missed it, but I did not see anything about that. I don't think our little fire departments can handle a fire of this size. From what I understand, you just have to let it burn because it's electricity. So therefore, everything around it's going to have to be put out. Do our little fire departments, can they handle this? Something of this size, the toxic fumes, how far away are the toxic fumes going to blow in our Kansas wind? I know property owners, as they said, they have rights, the ones that are leasing, but the rest of us, all of Jackson County, have rights too. I don't want to grieve it. We have rights too. We all have rights. The last thing is, I don't understand.
I'm sorry, your time is up. Okay, the next name is Thomas, I'm not certain of the last name, Spencer, possibly, Thomas Spencer.
Good evening. I want to thank you for the job that you're doing.
He's a whole better.
I want to thank you for the job that you're doing and everything. And several of the points that I wanted to talk about have been covered, so I'm not going to recover. But I did want to kind of take a little bit of a different approach as I was sitting back there thinking, well, I don't want to talk about that. I can't talk about this now. And I moved here about 5 years ago. One of the reasons, and with my employment, I traveled the state of Kansas and surrounding states for 18 years, mostly the state of Kansas. One of the reasons I moved here is because Jackson County, whether you know it or not, and sometimes, you know, when you live here all the time, you don't necessarily see it, but it's probably one of the most beautiful counties in the state of Kansas. I moved here because it was nice, quiet, you know, the small town atmosphere, lots of agriculture. One of the things I'd like to see, I think there's, when you weigh different things, I think that once you make some of these decisions, you can't go back. You're stuck with them. And I hope that you take that into consideration when you pass that through, like the setbacks, some of the other things, but I'm not a proponent of solar. I think in a few years that's going to be gone by the wayside and we're going to be on to something new. Just like wind energy. I think that's going to be gone sooner than we think. So with that, I appreciate your time.
Jacob Sims. Moving on then, Mike Branson.
Even, I gotta hand out to you all. Just so we can. We're not having a screw to take notes.
And if you could give your name once you get back to the microphone, please.
Yeah. My name's Mike Branson. I'm a resident of Jackson County. I wanted to cover a couple of topics here that were, we probably need to add these solar regs. I know you guys have done a lot of hard work, and I'd like to help assist in protecting Jackson County. Is that any better? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I can hear really well up here, so it's something back there. So I would like to go on to page 5, section 2, paragraph 2, and I'd like to propose that you all add the following prohibition. No storage of inoperable, damaged, or otherwise obsolete equipment shall be allowed to remain on property within the approved project site. The current operator and all successful operators shall be responsible for debris cleanup, removal, and property restoration of all participating and non-participating property resulting from natural disasters, severe weather event, mechanical failure, fire, active vandalism, or any project property and equipment. A debris cleanup and property restoration effort shall not be considered complete until receiving Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners approval. These provisions are essential to safeguard the public health, environmental integrity, and community aesthetics within the approved project site, ensuring that operations remain sustainable and accountable over time. Prohibiting the storage of inoperable or damaged or obsolete equipment mitigates risks such as chemical leaching, fire hazards, and visual degradation that could undermine the site's long-term viability and neighboring property values. By mandating comprehensive debris cleanup and property restoration extending both into participating and non-participating lands following natural disasters, fires, etc., it forces responsibility, preventing the prolonged blight and secondary environmental harm, promoting equitable burden sharing, requiring formal approval from the Planning Commission and the County Commissioners, guarantees objective verification of completeness, fostering trust and regulatory oversight, and minimizing disputes or incomplete recoveries that could escalate the costs or liabilities for stakeholders. The second thing I'd like to address, I'm going to truncate a little bit because my time is short, but on page 30, section 5, paragraph 4, I think that you all need to add repowering and classify that along with amendments to expansion and modification. Long story short, these projects do get repowered when solar, as far as solar goes, and at that repowering event, there's a lot of construction that takes place. So, enabling the county to have some oversight on that additional repowering would alleviate the burden on the taxpayers if they're going down all these haul roads and causing issues for road and bridge, etc. I'd expand on that a little bit more within my write-up. And the last thing I want to say is, just to wrap my head around what 11 to 12,000 acres of the land that is currently leased, that is the size, that is actually larger than Kansas City International Airport. This industrial solar project is going to be massive. So I think you guys have done a good job so far. I think that some things need to be tidied up, and we need to keep that cap in place. Thank
Martin.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Committee. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. I'd like to highlight some of the areas in the draft solar resolution version 7 related to environmental protections that I believe would benefit from clarification and stronger enforcement. I provided a handout that details these proposed changes for you to review. Currently, the draft addresses some environmental concerns. For example, Section 1 definitions includes terms such as wildlife corridors and agrivoltaics. Section 2, board concerns and resulting standards on page 1 and 2, addresses visual impacts, wildlife, endangered species, soil preservation, water quality, drainage, and infrastructure. Thank you guys for thinking about these things when you were working on this project. While these provisions are a good place to start, there are significant gaps. There are no specific requirements for independent third-party environmental impact studies. Important areas such as soil, hydrology, glare, and thermal impacts are not explicitly evaluated. This ordinance also lacks enforceable standards for the ongoing monitoring of the environmental impact throughout the life of the project. Additionally, there are no explicit mitigation obligations outlined should the environmental impacts be identified, or should new environmental impacts be identified after construction begins. To address these gaps, this handout proposes the following changes. First, we should absolutely require developers to submit independent environmental impact assessments prior to project approval. These comprehensive assessments should cover soil, water, vegetation, wildlife, hydrology, glare, and thermal impact. Second, we need to establish ongoing monitoring and reporting obligations throughout the operational life of the project, with annual reporting to the county on wildlife, soil health, water quality, and vegetation impacts. Third, developers should provide mandatory mitigation plans designed to avoid, minimize, or remediate adverse environmental impacts. These plans should be specific, measurable, and enforceable. These proposed changes will ensure that Jackson County can support renewable energy while protecting its important natural resources. They will create clear, enforceable standards, provide accountability and transparency, and reduce the risk of any unintended environmental harm. In summary, the handout I am giving you now contains the detailed language and placement suggestions for each section of the draft ordinance. I'd like to urge the committee to incorporate these changes in order to strengthen environmental protections and ensure that solar projects in Jackson County going forward are responsibly managed from construction through operation. Thank you.
Fiona Martin?
This one.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, or might need to hold microphone.
Hello? Yeah. Hey! Okay. Good evening, everyone. Planning Committee members. Sorry. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. My name is Fiona Martin, and I'm here as someone who will live with the long-term effects of decisions made today. I would like to talk about who will live with the long... Oh, my gosh, I'm sorry. Section 1, definitions in the draft of Solar Revolution, version 7. Specifically, I'd like to talk to you about the definition of developer. Right now, the draft defines a developer as the individual, company, or entity responsible for planning, construction, and operation of a solar project. That sounds okay at first, but it doesn't cover what happens if the developers disappear, go bankrupt, or the project changes hands. This worries me, of course. If the developers stop existing, who will pay for the decommissioning, repairing, environmental damage, or other costs? Without clear rules, residents like me could be left with the bill, and that isn't fair, and it isn't responsible planning. To fix this, I propose changing the definition in section 1-2. Developer, any individual, company, or entity responsible for the planning, construction, and operation of the solar energy project, including any successors of the project. This includes the parent company at the time of construction, which should be the original developer who ceased to exist as a legal entity. This change isn't about stopping development, and it is about making sure that those who build and profit these projects also take responsibility. It protects taxpayers, landowners, and people like me who will inherit the long-term consequences. By adopting this definition, Jackson County will ensure that obligations do not disappear with the original developer. It provides clarity, accountability, and peace of mind for future generations like me. The handout I provided shows this language in detail. I hope the committee considers this carefully, not just for today, but the future of everyone who will live here tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Caleb Martin? Caleb Martin?
All right. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. All right. Good thing COVID's not there. Friends, family, community, and officials, I would like to start by thanking everyone for dedicating your valuable time for being here tonight. I feel a special thanks needs to be given to the Planning Committee, who has worked hard these last months on regulations for the industrial solar power plant intended for our county. For those of you who don't know me, I would like to take a little time to introduce myself. My name is Caleb Martin. I am a third-generation resident, raising a fourth, and a lifetime resident of Jackson County personally. I grew up hunting, fishing all over Jackson County with my dad, brother, grandpa, and uncles. Our family enjoys camping, hiking, and spending time in nature. So naturally, I support sustainable energy for the better stewardship of our planet. Our family is currently in the process of getting solar for our own home to lessen our carbon footprint. However, for this project to honestly be considered sustainable, I feel the benefits must outweigh the costs. Right now, with our current technology, I am not sure solar can truly scale to an industrial level. The potential damage an industrial solar power plant could do to the ecosphere should be thoroughly studied so that we can fully understand the risk versus reward. That is why I feel it's important to point out the concern of mine that we have possibly overlooked, or maybe I just misunderstand. Section 2(1), paragraph 2 states, the planning committee, or the planning commission, and any other county officer, employee shall consider the following in addressing any applications or use under this code. My first concern is there. I believe the phrase shall consider should be changed to shall base their decision contingent on the findings of. Being compliant with the studies listed in categories A through I under the section 2(1) should be a bare minimum any industrial solar power plant coming to our county should be obligated to comply with. The wording shall consider makes it sound optional. I feel it is disingenuous to say our environment, flora, fauna, and community alike will not change drastically with the addition of the industrial solar plant. I believe that the solar power company, whichever one it may be, should feel an obligation to do the proper studies to see exactly how much change will potentially happen. These changes to the surrounding area are why the studies are typically mandated or strongly suggested by at the federal level in the building of an industrial solar power plant. Perhaps with the data from these studies, the impacted and potentially impacted residents of Jackson County can make an honest and informed decision on whether or not we even want solar industrial power to be brought here to our county. And perhaps the county commissioners, the planning committee, and others will know for sure if this is related to use their name on.
Your time is up. Bob Ware. Bob Ware. Aaron Missioner. Aaron Missioner. Aaron Missioner. Evan, sorry.
All right, I'll try to make it short and sweet here. I'm Evan Richter, live here in Holton. I'd just like to say that I don't think that this solar farm is only going to affect the landowners nearby. It's going to affect everybody in the county and into the counties adjacent to us. First of all, the fire department's out in Delia. You know, I can remember a little while back when there was a wildfire that got a little out of hand, and they struggled to contain that already. Is there going to be additional funds put into these smaller communities of Jackson County to cover that? Tornadoes. We don't ever get tornadoes in Jackson County. Of course we do. These solar panels are made with materials such as lead, cadmium, arsenic, selenium, and other heavy metals that when these solar panels are picked up and flung hundreds of miles by a tornado into adjacent counties, into Banner Creek, and other waterways near us, that will contaminate the county's water. Another thing I'd like to bring up is how are you going to ensure that if this company changes hands, or if this company goes into bankruptcy, who is going to be the one to cover cleanup? Who's going to be the one to cover if something happens with this solar field, with this solar plant? Who's going to cover the landowners nearby whenever a natural disaster happens, whenever hail happens, whenever these heavy metals get brought into these other lanes. The setbacks, I'd like to say, you know, I enjoy driving through rural Jackson County. I think this is a beautiful county. Having a mile setback from any occupied property sounds pretty good, but it should also probably have a pretty significant setback from all roads, because when I'm going on these drives, I'd rather not see solar farms. I want to see the beauty of Jackson County. The power does not go to Jackson County from what I can tell. It is sent to other places. And I also think the regulations should be stronger in limiting the acreage that they would be allowed to build on. And we should probably put it to a vote.
Jeanette Ransom.
She's here. She's here.
Good. Give her a moment to come to the microphone.
Where'd she go?
Okay. Okay, we will come back to her if she decides she wants to speak. Marilyn Watkins. Marilyn Watkins. Okay, thank you. Steve Willett.
Great to see you guys again. Wonderful. My name's Steve Willett. I'm a former Planning Commission member. We all know my story, so I'm not going to go through it. My name's Steve Willett. I'm a former Planning Commission member. You all know my story. I'm not going to go through it. But I have been really concerned about this entire solar issue, and since Mr. Anderson opened up the floor to not cite regulations, I prefer not to. The regulations say that we shall be limited to no more than one 2,000-acre site, unless the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners approves a modification, which sounds like an open gate, and the horses will leave when you leave the gate open. It also says that you struck the sentence that somebody else brought up. A project may not be within 2 miles of another project. That sounds to me like there's purpose for that, like they want to put them back practically. I don't know. The fact is they have at least 12,000 acres for a 2,000-acre project they were looking for in September 2022, and now their vision's grown. And this is like a cancer that's going to spread because these are county-wide regulations. They're going to be coming after other areas of the county, and the citizens in Netawaka and Circleville and Hoyt and all around need to get involved. The solar panels are going to degrade over time. And just through Mother Nature, the freezing, the heat, the sun, the rain, the elements, and they're going to leach materials onto the ground below them. They're eventually going to find their way to the Cross Creek watershed, which is the water supply for Rossville, Kansas, and a lot of other people on the way down. If we contaminate that water, is Jackson County going to face a liability down the road? Somebody else brought up fires. Fires are a big concern, and almost an every year annual event. And if we have fires and toxic clouds fly over, predominant prevailing winds out of the south or southwest come over Fulton, Kansas, how many citizens are we going to injure? We have to think about the risk. And tornadoes in Kansas are common. If one happens to come through that project and dumps all that trash in Banner Creek Reservoir, and mind you, the Banner Creek watershed is less than 1.5 miles from the northern reaches of this project site that I saw on the map. If it dumps it into that creek, into our drinking water, a third of the residents of this county are not going to have drinking water we take for granted every day.
you won't be able to sell your house and this thing will become a ghost town. So I ask you, make these regulations stiff enough before a tragedy happens in our county.
You showed something on those.
We just started. We just started.
Okay, Simon Hoffman. Simon Hoffman.
He's right here.
Hi, I'm Chairman Jonathan. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the construction of solar plants is going to make a lot of noise. This noise is going to be a constant pounding that could last all day long. If there is no limitation to construction noise, then we won't be able to go outside and play without ear protection, or we'll just have to sit around inside. Can construction noise be limited or at least restricted to certain times of the day? Thank you for your time.
Victor Bryson.
Ladies and gentlemen, how would you people like if a tornado came through the solar panels and ripped up your property? You would have to pay for their removal. It could damage your house and maybe your barns. If they hit and destroyed your silos, then all your grain would be lost. So, are you still sure that you want solar plants? Besides, my family consists of 12 members, all growing up. How would their future be like if this solar panels were still existing? Thank you.
I interpreted with some writing, Korea, possibly Alan. Gary, I'm sorry.
Good evening. My name is Gary Allard, and tonight I want to address a gap in the draft resolution regarding property value protections. While the draft frequently references economic impacts and community benefits, it does not explicitly address property values, market values, or maintaining land prices as a discrete enforceable goal. The sections most relevant are Section 2, Purpose and Intent, Section 3, Evaluation Criteria and Conditional Use Permit Standards, and Sections 11 and 14, Decommissioning and Financial Assurance. Currently, Section 2 speaks generally about economic impacts of solar development, and Section 3 evaluates visual, environmental, and soil impacts. Sections 11 and 14 cover site restoration and decommissioning. But however, nowhere does the ordinance require developers to assess or protect neighboring property values, nor does it hold them financially accountable if harm does occur. This is a critical oversight. Property values are a measurable aspect of the economic and social health of our communities. Without explicit language, we leave adjacent homeowners unprotected and create ambiguity in enforcement. To address this, I propose the following changes, which are detailed in the handout I provided to the committee. Number 1, Purpose and Intent, Section 2. Add language clarifying that the ordinance aims to preserve fair market values of agricultural and residential lands adjacent to the solar projects. Number 2, Evaluation Criteria and Conditional Use Permit Standards, Section 3. Require applicants to submit a property value impact assessment demonstrating that the project will not unreasonably reduce surrounding land or residential values. Include mitigation measures if negative impacts are anticipated. Number 3, Decommissioning and Financial Assurance, Sections 11 and 14. Developers must assume full financial responsibility for any demonstrated property value degradations using escrow, bonds, or insurance. Explicitly protect property owners and the county from financial liability related to value loss. In summary, these additions make property value protection a clear enforceable goal of the ordinance, complementing the environmental, visual, and operational standards already in place. The handout I provided contains the proposed changes in more detail so you can see the exact proposed language and placement in the draft resolution. I urge the committee to incorporate these changes into the next draft. By doing so, Jackson County can responsibly balance renewable energy development with property rights and economic fairness. Thank you for your time.
Darby? If you can, again, repeat your name and the microphone, please.
Good evening. My name is Darby Combs. Live here in Jackson County at 158th and N Road. And I'm here to talk about the transportation part. So section 4, part 6. A little bit about my background. I've been in the Army Reserves for 13 years. I'm currently a civilian, and that whole time I do transportation management. And I've been deployed overseas, working at the 1, 2, and 3-star level, handling multi-million-dollar transportation plans. So our equipment moves on the roads, by sea, plane, everything. And part of the mandate that I have some concerns about is a lack of regulation. First thing I would like to recommend is a mandatory pre-construction survey. So we don't know the routes they're going to take, but based off my experience, I can assume is I think we need to have someone come in and see what the conditions of the road are, and then how we would get them back to that state or better. Another part of that is I would assume that they would drive through 158 through the reservation. Has there been any conversations had with tribal council and to see how that would affect them and how the solar company would reimburse the tribe on tribal land and the tribal roads? Everyone uses 158 that lives in Delia to come up to Holton. 158 is a thoroughfare. And this part says the county, but it doesn't say anything about the reservation. The reservation will wholeheartedly say like, oh, you're not driving through here, and then we're just in a whole entire predicament. Second is financial securities. I think there needs to be proposed bonds, credits in there for the work road, for the road work, and then also for the dirt roads as well, new gravel, spraying to do dust control, as well for the people who live in there. Oversized and overweight loads, when the restrictions would be, when they can and can't come through. If it's during school, are we going to have these 30,000-pound trucks or whatever coming down behind the school buses and kids hopping on and off the bus, or can there be restrictions within that? For the enforcement and safety and cleanup, who is going to do it? Is it going to be KDHE? Is it going to be the county? Is the county going to hire a third-party company to come in and regulate it? Is it going to be on the sheriff's office or the reservation? I think those things need to be clearly put in there. And then finally, accountability for the repairs and warranties. So I think a 3-year warranty needs to be put on the road work, so if they repair the road, a section of it, and then that part deteriorates because, say, the contract company didn't put down enough underlayment rock, they need to come repair that.
Jason Carrillo. Sorry, Belville. Okay. Melody Manyuk.
Well, I'm going to speak pretty loud because I want everybody to hear me. I live up just outside of Delia, and I want to thank you all for volunteer work. Obviously, we're volunteers, but one of my main concerns, besides the lack of specificality in the regs, is my property value. Now, I'm old enough that my kids aren't going to farm our ground, but my grandkids might, and my great-grandkids might. And if our property value goes down because we have solar panel farms close by, that's sad. That is good ground up near Delia. Now, I have to tell you real quick, I asked the county commissioner, thank you, yes I did, would he like this across from his road? And you know what his answer was? No, absolutely not. Neither do we. We do not want it in Southwest Jackson. And why is that? Because a lot of reasons. We have great agricultural land. We have property values that are really wonderful. And like someone else said, it's beautiful up down there. Does Holden want it right outside their town? No, probably not. Would be my guess. I understand that, and I see both sides. I understand why farmers are leasing their land. It's about money. And anybody that says it isn't about money is lying. But I also see the other side, which is my side. My side is, please do not destroy our agricultural land. And in 20 years, when the solar panels, or 30 years, go to Bob, what is going to happen to that ground? I really don't know, because no one has said. Is our ground going to be farmable? I don't know. What I heard today was that what if a tornado comes through and you can what if all day long? What happens if we hit all that stuff on our property? Who's responsible for cleaning it up? I don't know. Again, I don't know. But again, I want to thank y'all.
Matt Devader.
Where's Matt? There he is.
Can everybody hear me okay? No. How about I speak real loud like this? Yeah! I'd like to thank all of you people on the committee here for your work product, all the time you put into it. You're meeting way more than you ever would have had to meet before. I would also like to thank all these people and the ones who were here earlier for showing up. This is really important. You guys have been tasked with an impossible job. As far as I know, none of you are experts in this subject matter. And there may be people in this audience, or people that we know, who are. I would welcome you guys, and there's ladies on the board as well, to reach out to people in this community to find the subject matter experts to help you solve these problems. I also want to remind you guys of something. A lot of us know each other here. Most of you are lifelong residents like myself. This is your legacy, and we're going to see each other at football games, at church, and from here on out till you're dead and gone, or we move away or whatever. I really hope that you put as much thought process into this as you possibly can, because I can tell you there's some people in Centralia that don't get along anymore, and I think there's some people here earlier talking a little bit about what's happening up there. To speak specifically to a regulation on the fire regulation area there, the point now is that industrial energy facilities are required to have a fire department. I spoke to some people from Evergy about Jeffries Energy Center. They have to have on staff 24 hours a day people trained to be firemen. Just like Goodyear, Frito-Lay, any place of that size. They're also required to have security on site. Now, this organization that's putting this in, as far as I know, I don't see any regulations to require that, and I think that you should have it on there, because do you want to shoulder these good volunteer firemen from Delia, Mayetta, Hoyt, Tribal, Holton, Shawnee County, Potawatomi County? Let's not fool ourselves here. If it's only 2,000 acres, and these fine folks here said they want more, we're talking like 3.5 million solar panels in each parcel of 2,000 acres. I can't even imagine what that fire looks like. Okay, guys? We don't have the resources. They should have to fund that. They should have to have a fire station out there. They should have to have security out there. Come on. We were all high school kids. Some of us, did the same things. As soon as some high school kid jumps the fence out there and there's no security perimeter that's being patrolled regularly, or a group of kids gets out there, what's that act going to look like? So does that fall on the sheriff's department? That we have to fund more deputies, or the tribe has to have more people out there? I would encourage you to look at that particular portion. Thank you.
Connie Lemery. If I have your name correct?
Lonnie Lemery. Good evening. My name is Lonnie Lemery. There are 9 Lemrys in the state of Kansas, and we all reside in Jackson County. We love Jackson County. My grandkids are here. We live near the proposed solar site. My family didn't move here from Wisconsin to live beside North America's largest solar plant. We came for open space, clean air, and a safe environment, and this project threatens all of that. Fire and safety. These facilities pose serious fire risks. Our own regulations require a detailed emergency services fire and safety plan, including wildlife mitigation and toxic material handling, section 4.9. That tells us the county already recognizes fire and hazardous substance risks. Approving something of this unprecedented size only multiplies those dangers. Toxic chemicals and soil water risks. The rules also require a soil planning for heavy metals, section 4.11. Why? Because damaged panels can leach toxins into the soil and groundwater. With a facility this large, one storm or hail event could scatter thousands of broken panels, an environmental nightmare right on our farmland. Fragile ecosystem. The standard stress protecting farmland soils, vegetation, and wildlife habitat, section 3.6, vegetation, section 3.7 soils, section 3.14 farmland standards. But blanketing thousands of acres with glass and steel is the opposite of preservation. Once those habitats and soil systems are disrupted, they don't come back. In closing, this isn't about rejecting solar, it's about following our own regulations that were written to protect the land, the water, and the people who live here. And if we truly follow those rules, then solar of this scale should never ever be allowed in our neighborhoods. Please protect our community by rejecting this project today. Thank you.
Michelle Harrison. Michelle Harrison.
Thank you all for the opportunity to speak. I would just like to provide some input. I would like to see more studies done on the effects on local wildlife. I would also like to see more guidelines for farmland reclamation and decommissioning, such as requiring money to be put into an escrow account rather than irrevocable letters of trust. We need to ensure that both mine and future generations are protected with these regulations. Thank you.
The next name is Renee Danica, possibly. Danica? Okay. Tasha Wilson. Thunderchild Thomas. James Meyer.
Good evening, I'm Jim Meyer. I'm the mayor of Rossville. I grew up in Holton, graduated from Holton, and I don't envy you guys' job at all. At all. I'm here to represent the about 1,200 residents that live downstream from this project, from Cross Creek. If you live in Rossville, it's a given that every 15 to 20 years you're going to flood because they get enough rain up around the Delia area. It's going to come downstream and flood our town. That's a given. But what concerns me is, in between each one of those floods is several close calls of flooding. And I'm afraid that everything I've read about solar farms is that the runoff is increased and could result in more flooding in Rossville. The citizens of Rossville will receive none of the benefits that's been talked about here tonight. None. But I think we will get the runoff water for this project. I just hope that some kind of a environmental study or whatever it would take to assure the residents of Rossville that flooding will not increase as a result of a project that really hasn't been mentioned at all in any of this discussion. And I guess in closing, the future of the 400 homes in Rossville and all the farm ground along Cross Creek is in your hands. I hope you give us some consideration. Thank you.
Matthew Rice.
Hello, my name is Matthew Rice and I'm from Nemaha County. I'm concerned after seeing the unfolding of the wind turbines up our way. I don't think it was fully understood at the time. I think people kind of were surprised how it all played out. I think there was a lot of concerns that never were addressed or thought through. Can you hear me fine? Sorry. My name is Matthew Rice. I'm from Nemaha County, and I'm concerned. Because we have the wind turbines up our way. I think it was kind of a rush through thing, and there was a lot of things that were not considered before it proceeded. So I'm concerned because we're going down the same road here. My biggest concern is I don't see anything in the regulations that talk about the primary beneficiary of our tax dollars / end users of energy we don't necessarily need. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Emily Scheibler.
She's right outside the door.
Okay. Moving along then, Zach. Okay, let's move on to Zach Stone, then we'll come back to Emily after, just to save everyone's time.
Well, good evening. Thank you. My name is Zach Pastora from Leavenworth County. Here on behalf of the Kansas Sierra Club, a grassroots environmental organization with about 4,000 members statewide, including members here in Jackson County. So I'm speaking off organization's behalf. We enjoy, explore, and protect our great outdoors. Just so you know a little bit about myself, grew up on a pig farm. I'm from a fourth-generation farm family, a lifelong Kansan, and a member of the Citizen Band Potawatomi Nation. I just thought I'd come here tonight to not just thank you for considering all these regulations. I was involved in the Douglas County regulations for solar, Johnson County. I remember Douglas County's was 24 pages of regulations, and I'm looking at 34 regulations here. All in all, our concern is both at how we're going to impact the land, but also in our ecosystems, but what's going to be fair for a community that's going to host a big-time solar farm. So I appreciate all the questions tonight and the concerns, but when I'm looking through the regulations, I'm seeing a lot of things I was looking for. I'm thinking about buffer strips. I'm thinking about how you're going to impact wildlife. We got wildlife corridors, fencing. We got endangered species concern. We got concern for noise and lighting. We got drainage and water quality. You know, frankly, we're more concerned about what we're spraying on our fields as far as the impact to our water use than solar panels on the land. We're here to be a supporter of what the community wants to do with all this. That's really important. But also, as I see it, I feel perfectly comfortable recommending these regulations that you got before us on my own land, on my neighbor's land, and in any county in Kansas. These are the most strict regulations that I can see. Been thinking about this for a long time now about utilizing more clean energy in Kansas. You know, I don't know why we can't use more energy that comes from our home state versus buying coal from Wyoming or gas from Texas and Oklahoma, okay, or invite an out-of-state nuclear company to do business in Kansas. Okay, so we really think about impacts of pollution, both in the community level, but also on our world. And we can know that Kansas Solar can put more money in our Kansas landowners and communities' pocketbooks than paying off Wyoming for their coal. That pollutes our air. People got higher rates of asthma and deal with the atmospheric pollution that's causing extreme weather we're having to deal with. So I just wanted to leave you with all that. You got a tough job in balancing private property rights and the collective good here, but I would urge you to pass the regulatory framework here, and then when the conditional use permit comes up, you offer more scrutiny of those specific projects. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to stick around as long as you want to answer questions. Thank you.
John Vine.
We're going to have Emily Schindler's next.
Okay, Ruth, thank you.
Hi, my name is Emily Schindler.
Speak up, Miss Ann.
The targeted area with my family will be surrounded by it, and the industrial solar power plant will be devastating for our family, our home, our water. I want regulations that will protect my family, most especially from the fire danger, our livestock, our physical and environmental habitat. I want regulations that will provide guaranteed insurance that the appropriate people will be held completely responsible if any of these rights will be compromised. I want your reassurance that every non-participating landowner will be protected with your regulations, no matter if next era likes them or not. I want you to be sure that those appropriate people will be held liable and all damages to our property and quality of life will be protected. On page 7, section 3, under the heading of standards of approval, number 3 says location of property or site. The system shall be located on property that will generally accommodate the future growth of incorporated cities. Towards the end, no part of any project can be placed within 1 mile of the city limits of any city, not on the US 75 highway corridor, and 2 miles of any city limits that is on the US 75 highway corridor. When the county commissioners were working on these regulations back in 2024, the distance at that time from the city of Delia and the solar power plant project was 3 miles. Many didn't like that idea of having such a large, over 2,000 acres industrial power plant smack dab in the middle of a community zone for agriculture. It didn't make sense, and it still doesn't. But then, when on December 2nd, 2024, the same county commissioners changed the distance of the project from 3 miles to 1 mile for any city not on Highway 75, I was devastated. It was bad enough to have to live and work around something that should not be an area zoned for agricultural, and families and farms have lived in harmony for centuries. And now the county commissioners want, for no obvious reason, to move this 2,000-acre industrial solar power plant 1 mile north of the city of Delia. I'm asking to reinstate the previous distance from Delia to 3 miles. For me, this wasn't far enough for my family. Honestly, it should be 3+ miles from any home. But that is what we would like to believe at the beginning of this saga. All of this has been so hush-hush for so long. I'm just thankful to be able to say something to you this evening. Thank you.
John Bunch. Okay, Trish Heim.
Hi, my name is Trish Heim, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I have served on Rossville City Council since August of 2018, so I agree with Mayor Wimer in that you have a tough job to do, and I know that you are not getting paid for it. Others have spoken here tonight and have mentioned that there will be direct impacts on those who are not participating in this. I'm here tonight to speak for Rossville, a town that is less than 10 miles south of Delia. I have had only 3 addresses my entire life. All have been in Rossville. I grew up and lived with Cross Creek in my backyard for 25 years. It was probably 30 yards from the back of our house. I experienced Rossville's worst flood in 1982. I was 10 years old. Experiencing a flood is awful. I watched my dad run around the house, breaking out window wells to our basement of our home because the water was rising so fast and rushing so hard. He was afraid that our home would float off its foundation. As a 10-year-old, that was awful to watch. Some things to consider. Have there been any studies done on potential runoff into Cross Creek, Soldier Creek, and eventually the Kansas River? Even hog farms require studies for runoff. The Corps of Engineers have studied and assisted the floodgates and watersheds that help Rossville not flood. Should they also be consulted? It's been mentioned that Kansas is a free market and has no mandates. Does this mean no environmental studies? I am not an attorney, but flooding in Rossville could bring potential lawsuits against all parties involved. Thank you.
Pamela Brown.
I've already spoken, but I'll take it up.
Thank you. I'm trying to allow new people to speak. There's a mark on Baldwin, possibly. Mark Baldwin.
Mark Baldwin, landowner.
The technology is obsolete. We've got white hydrogen deposits all over Kansas. The amount of herbicide that is going to be sprayed in these projects is going to ruin everyone's livelihood. Organic farmers, regenerative farmers. I don't think that you're actually taking things into consideration of the impact that these projects will have, the trillions of dollars that's been invested by big tech to build data centers all around the state, Kansas City.
the amount of water that's going to be wasted and funneled into these projects. I believe this project is built directly over an aquifer. You're talking about 2,000 acres with 11,000 allocated, correct? That's enough land to build a data center. You're trying to sneak the tip in, right? Naive people. And then build a data center. Like hydrogen, for example, will supply enough energy for thousands of years in this state. And I don't even know if there's any people in this room that are even aware of it. But we're building obsolete technology, and if you want to talk about regulations, the regulations needs to be an outright ban. No means no.
Jason Martin.
Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah. Right on. I've lived in Jackson County pretty much my entire life. I'm 47 years old. We hunt here, we fish here, we go camping here. We don't want our beautiful land torn up for solar panels that aren't going to do us any good. Are we getting the electricity from these things? I mean, is it even going to anywhere in our state? Are they going to cut out acres of farmland from here to wherever they're running it to run power poles? And then what happens when they get tired of paying the bill? What, do they just leave or what? I mean, we don't have any information about what it's going to do for runoff. We don't know how it's going to affect the land. It's like they just closed a solar power plant out in California that wasn't delivering all the promises they said they were going to promise. And it feels like these big businesses come in here to these small towns and they run us over with all their crap to try to get some people to buy it, and they do. And then the next thing you know, you got 30,000 acres of farmland that are black tiles that do nobody any good in this state, even let alone the county. It's like, I feel like if you're looking for federal dollars, maybe ask them for some gravel for the roads or something. I don't know. There's a pothole on 190 that could swallow a truck. I mean, if we're looking for things that are going to benefit Jackson County, maybe work on some of the things that need fixed instead of adding new problems. That's all I got.
Maddie O'Neill. Maddie O'Neill. Aiden Byrne.
I think they're getting him.
We're waiting for him. JaCo Planning.
Hello, I'm JaCo Planning. I'm a Dealey resident. I bought a house about a year ago. I've been on the Dealey Fire Department for more than 10 years. Been in the fire service over 15. Something I want to touch on is Dealey's having some serious issues with the water tower and the water supply. There is no water down there. In the regulations, you guys need to either add or alter that the nearest infrastructure needs to be fixed and at operating, at full potential to operate to be able to handle a fire if there is one. The second thing is, on the fire trucks and stuff in this county, there's a lot of old equipment.
if we're using our taxpayer dollar funded trucks and equipment to go fight a fire or an emergency out on this place where the solar panels are going to be at, what are we going to do when they break down or they get used to where the taxpayers are penalized for it? That needs to be into consideration. Delia Fire is one of the many assets, well, few assets left in Delia that this community depends on. We cannot afford to lose our fire department or have anything break or go wrong. You guys seriously need to consider that. The other thing is, this is electricity we're dealing with. People can get electrocuted out of this. There needs to be specialized training that we do not normally have done on this. That needs to be at the expense of the landowner, NextEra, and the county, because they're the ones who are responsible for this. If somebody has to get electrocuted, what are you guys going to do about that? If a couple firemen or even one gets killed out there, what's going to be done about that? What are you going to tell their family if they got electrocuted for trying to put a fire out that's affecting other people that do not benefit from this? How are you going to take care of their family if this happens? Because it can. This is real. That is part of what we're dealing with, what we're looking at that can happen from this. Lightning strikes, tornadoes, anything can start a fire out there. What happens if a fire comes off of that property from that structure and goes and affects somebody else that is not involved in this? What are you guys going to do about that? Who's liable? What happens if a house burns down or life is lost? That's where we're at stake with this if we're not going to try and do anything about it. You guys need to think about that stuff.
We have gone through all of the lists of people who have submitted written testimony since this process began. We've also gone through the list of everyone who had signed in tonight and wanted to speak.
Signed in again for the after.
She's on the list.
Well, I signed in because I said she gave part of my input in before the deadline, and I submitted another sheet after the deadline. So I signed up over here for the after the deadline.
Okay, let's, if this is okay with the board, let's go ahead and allow these 2 or 3 speakers, just raise their hand, who have not yet spoken. Go ahead and do so. Since
Over here. I'm not on the list. She is.
She's on the list. Wait.
She's on the list. She's on a list, Jonathan.
What's the name?
She signed
Can
the
we
list.
get a
I don't
name?
know what her name is.
Can we get your name?
Renee Coleman, you called her Renee, but I don't know if that was, did you call me?
Yeah.
yes.
We couldn't,
Okay,
we
sorry.
didn't get the right pronunciation, so.
Okay, all right, now you did. Okay, can everybody can hear me?
No, not really.
Is that better?
Yes.
I guess you guys need to talk louder, okay. Well, thank you, first of all, everybody on the planning commission. Also, thank you to the fire and first rescuers here in the room. My name is Renee Coleman. I've lived in Jackson County for 35 years, give or take. I've been a registered nurse in the state of Kansas the last 13 years. I've been a licensed practical nurse in the state of Kansas for 17 years prior to that. My experience in the medical field raised concerns regarding the potential negative health impacts of the proposed industrial solar plant if allowed to be built. One of them is food choice. That's important for good health. Not all the processed foods that we have so much. You can buy at the local store, getting from the local farmers where all the pesticides and stuff aren't used. Having access to naturally locally produced meat and produce from the small family farms is something we're very lucky to have here in Jackson County. There seems to be a resurgence in the roadside food stands, the farmers market. My neighbors, Bob, you're my neighbor. The neighbors, like the Ryan food stand that they do the farmers market, that type of things. And the proposed solar complex puts all of that at unnecessary risk. Many counties also, the many county residents, also hunt wild game to provide healthy food for their families. This project would cause huge disruptions in the movement and migration of wildlife both during the construction and after, as these large swaths of land will be lost habitat for many species in the area that people are hunting. This part of the state also is accustomed, of course, to the extreme weather events, the hailstorms, the tornadoes, and having the tens of thousands, I guess somebody said millions, so I must be wrong on that, sorry. The solar panels adjacent to the agriculture, especially if we get up to the 11,000 acres that people have been proposing. Damage from the hail, tornadoes, the fires, again, the loss of life with the electrocution, things going into the ground that we don't even know in this day and age what really causes cancer. We have suspects some of these minerals and stuff can be leaching into the ground, even without just normal wear and tear, even without the storms and the hail, tornadoes having to come through the area. I believe in the benefits, as a closing statement, believe in the benefits of solar energy left to the individual, not this much of a large impact scale, and just we need to be going through and re-looking at these, all of these regulations and stuff. So, thank you.
I believe there are a few other people who would raise their hands if they want to speak. If you could, okay, if you could come up and first sign the list so we have a record of that. We will not count that. We will not count that towards your 3 minutes. While she's filling out this.
That's right. I guess my statements reinforce most of what everybody has said anyway.
You can say your name and.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Elizabeth Crash. I've lived in Jackson County since 1999. We actually live north, so technically it's not in my backyard, but it is in my backyard. During 2020, we sat and watched things get torn out as they put the wind farms in up north. So we have huge power lines going through not our property, but just a mile south and a mile west of us now that are gigantic. They are eyesores to the land side. None of that power is going here either. And so we watched it happen in our backyard with the wind. And I support these people because they're going to watch it go in their backyards. And it isn't organically sound. These are things that are not. And too many, these are things that are not, they don't decompose, they don't break down in the environment. And they're going to cause problems for the farmers, for the Rossville people. And too many times, you guys wanted specifics, too many times did I underline the thing that, the line in your specifications that it said, unless the planning commission or the commissioners decide otherwise. That means you guys can make decisions without anybody else saying again, once again. And so, I probably take 3 minutes, but that's where I support them, and like I said, it's not in my backyard. Yeah.
Is there another person who has not yet spoken?
Anybody else?
My name's Charlie Martin. I've lived in Jackson County 60 years, and I do a lot of hunting and fishing out west. Volunteer fire department in Mad, worked at the dehydrator plant in Rossville, and 82 wasn't the only big flood down there. They had another one in 85, 87. I spent the night, 2 nights in Rossville that time because there was no way out of town. And
So any more runoffs, all it's gonna do is hurt the land, I think. Not at all for this. That's why I brought my kids up here to raise them. I got out of Scotland out of maybe 76 to 80, and moved my family all up here with mom, dad. We moved out of town to get away from all that stuff. We just soon not have it in our area. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Anyone else tonight?
I know I talked, but, and I know you aren't supposed to say anything
Okay.
more.
Please do not speak from your seat. Please come to the microphone. I'm sorry, I know some people have older voices than I do.
No problem, I'm the one that talks really loud. Okay, so I just want to say, the one thing I wanted to say was my understanding is you all, as a committee, turn your recommendations, your regs, once you've fine-tuned them, over to the county commissioners. And the county commissioners are the ones that actually make the decision. And I know you can't answer that, but I just want you all to know, it's the county commissioners that should be here tonight to hear everyone's
Amen.
Yeah, that seems like they're high.
Yes, how are you going to be quiet? It's so disrespectful. Y'all gotta come over and speak, so let us speak, okay? My name is Mary Chris Myers. I've grown up in the area. I've been married to a man who's been in 7 generations of farming. And no one ever takes care of Delia. We have no good fire department. We don't have a water tower. We don't have anybody watching out for us. We didn't get our school safe. We don't have anything going for us in Delia. Oh, Jackson County Tourism came in and painted a mural on our schoolhouse. How did that bring us money? How did that help our community? I'm so proud because we had a mural on our schoolhouse. So think about us farmers down there. We want our children to be able to farm. We want our children to be able to grow. We're not saying our kids are moving away. We got ours in school. They're going to go and be in the farming industry. I'm the 6th generation of my family. My kids are going to be the 7th. We are here. And out of 149 people in Delia, how many are actually farmers and have been here in 7 generations? Think about that. We want a farm. We want a town. We want a water tower. We want roads. Everybody supposed to have a paved road to the county courthouse. My husband told me it took 40 years to get to Chippensdale, and it's crappy. We have, our county has paid for the road to be paved across from E Road to 75 Highway. It's not done on the K&H. You drive on that road. You see how bad that road is? Do y'all ever care about our part of the county until it comes to something like this? We need to care about it all the time. We need to care if we have a place for our kids to grow up and come back. We need to make sure that we have actually people coming up there and care about us. We don't have buses come after school to deliver kids after sports from Rossville up here. We should actually be a part of the Jackson County instead of across the line in Rossville. We should also make sure our kids have the best intentions and have a chance. I don't like anybody to say a kid's going to jump a fence and cause trouble because you know what you did when you were kids. No, it's how you raise your kids. Now, you're going to be responsible parents, you're going to be responsible kids. And no one even cares about us when it comes to county fair either, because no one even knows we exist down in Jackson, down in Baldwin County. So let's think about it. You got taxes coming in, you got money coming in. No one's talking about reservations putting up on 150th. That's going to be an eyesore. It's going to put out Hoyt out of business. It's going to put out Mayette out of business. And you probably put out a hotel in town who's actually ranked in the top for Super 8 hotel. But they put in their hotel, their restaurants, their gas station, and their restaurant and their businesses. And now think about the corridor. You already have accidents on their road. We don't have a turnoff on 158 from the highway. You have to get onto the side of the pull off to pull off. I mean, those roads are supposed to be done too, all the way through Jackson County. They're not done either. So before you guys say, not worry about Jackson, little town of Delia, because everybody who's been talking is not even from our county except for a couple people. But our generation's been here. Thank you.
It's 9 o'clock. No, it's 9 o'clock. Everybody's tired. They're all exhausted.
Okay, thank you, Matt. We have reached the appointed time of 9 p.m. this evening, so thank you everyone for coming. We'll have another one of these listening sessions in a week on October 2nd during the same time period. Thank you, everyone. Safe travels home.